Away we go on the Sean O'Connell Show on a Football Friday edition of the program. No Sean O'Connell this morning. No, you may recognize my voice by now. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. It's Bryson Bianucci filling in for one Sean O'Connell on ESPN 792.1 FM here this morning. We appreciate you for being here along for the ride with us. As always, you can hear us on the 700 AM dial, 92.1 FM. As well as ESPN700sports.com and the ESPN 700 app. Make sure you go and give us a follow over on X and all other social media platforms as well. A loaded show on a Friday edition. Our friend Shion Jayaraza is going to join us coming up here from CBS Sports at 11:30. We'll talk to him about some college football and more. Of course, Lee Sterling stops by for a Friday conversation, as Sean does every single Friday on this program. And then Jason Beck is going to pop on in for a Coordinator's Corner conversation. That was Sean O'Connell that did that interview earlier on in the week. We'll play that for you coming up here at 1 p.m. later on the program. As I mentioned, Jordan Bianucci alongside me here in the studio. Jordan, appreciate you being here with me on a Friday.
Hey, I'm feeling good. Glad to be here. Usually, by the time we hit 11 o'clock, we're
back in bed.
We're a little sluggish after doing the morning show. But last night went to bed early because Thursday night football was the Jets and the Patriots. Enough said.
Less than inspiring.
I watched through the mid third quarter, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. To be honest, the Jets made it more competitive than I thought they would.
The nice thing about this Friday is that it is a loaded, jam-packed weekend of sports that we've got coming your way. A lot of stuff. Plenty of NFL football, a loaded slate of Sunday football coming up on Sunday, but also college football. And it's a huge college football weekend this weekend. Of course, your Utes on the road at Baylor as they get ready for another Big 12 matchup. This thing opened up, according to ESPN Bet, at 7.5. It's now moved up to 9.5 on ESPN Bet in favor of Utah on the road. And let's jump right into that conversation, Jordan, because Utah football, of course, with the latest edition of the college football playoff rankings, right on the cusp of getting into that college football playoff. They need some help with some teams in front of them, but it should be another exciting weekend of college football here.
Well, it should, and this is a great matchup for Utah. They match up so well against Baylor. What does Baylor have a problem with? Stopping the run. What does Utah excel at? Running the football. Baylor, not great at protecting the quarterback. You get John Henry Daly after Sawyer Robertson. A lot of things are going to have to go wrong for Utah to lose this football game, and that's a good thing because I think Utah needs to beat Baylor convincingly just for the style points. I think that does matter right now for Utah.
Well, strangely enough, news coming down from the college football world that Baylor athletic director Mack Rhoades has stepped away not only from his spot as the athletic director, but also the college football playoff committee, where he is currently the committee chairman. And Jordan, they're going to replace him with one Mark Harlan. So that's news that came down yesterday. That is very important news for the future of the college football playoff. And then, of course, you've got Yurachek that comes over from Arkansas that's going to be the committee chairman who's going to go out and speak to the media and do all that stuff. But Harlan's actually on the committee for college football playoffs now and will be in those conversations. Now, of course, there's the recusal of any Big 12 teams that are spoken about. He has to leave the room. Any teams that he has connections to, he'll have to leave the room. So how much does it help the Big 12 to have him on that college football playoff committee? But all of this comes at a time when Utah's going to go on the road to play Baylor, and there's some distractions out there right now for the Baylor athletic department.
It's in turmoil. Talk about two programs going different directions. I don't know what's going on at Baylor, but it is not good. Your football coach, it's widely believed is gone after this year. Your AD, like you said, just stepped away. I don't know. That's a mess down there. But I'll tell you this about Harlan: it doesn't hurt him being on the committee. You can argue with the recusal. He can't really lobby for Utah. It does not hurt having him there, though.
It'll be interesting to see how the College Football Playoff Committee moves forward without Mac Rhodes and what those explanations are, and if it changes much in what we see in terms of what goes on in those college football playoff rankings. But right now, I mean, the Big 12 has been pretty favored, it seems like, with the spots that they have been given, at least early on in the first rankings. I think a lot of people are surprised at how far up BYU, Texas Tech, Utah were. It's funny because there's this sentiment now looming that if things happen a certain way, as more college football playoff rankings come out, the less favored the Big 12 will be down the road, and that the committee's sentiment of what they've seen in terms of the body of work from these Big 12 teams will change a little bit the closer we get to the actual college football playoff rankings, the final ones that come out that actually mean something here.
Well, look, it hurt Utah to a certain degree that BYU got just dominated in Lubbock, because Utah lost a close game to BYU. That loss doesn't look, and I'm nitpicking here, but that loss doesn't look quite as great after you get just the Cougars get dominated in Lubbock, and then drop those 5 spots. But yeah, I mean, overall, 3 teams, all of which have losses, have a legitimate shot at getting into the college football playoff. That's a step forward. Look, at the beginning of this season on our morning show, we were really skeptical when Brett Yormark favored the college football playoff expansion plan, where the Big 12 wasn't guaranteed just 2 teams. He wanted to go, you know what? No, we're not guaranteed 2 spots. We'll take our chances with at-large bids. And we thought that's
this guy's out of his mind.
A little risky based on the college football playoff committee not exactly loving the Big 12 last year, but it's looking good right now. He's looking pretty smart.
So along the lines of that same discussion, now all of the reports on the college football playoff and the future of it, the expansion, everything, apparently has to be voted on by the end of December. So you are going to get a lot of news about the college football playoff, the way that it expands, the new rules and everything voted on by college or by conference commissioners in the next 2 months. Well, a month and a half, really, because we're halfway through the month of November right now. That's going to be a 16-team playoff expansion. They're talking about that. Also, the seeding rules, right? Last year, we had different seeding rules than we see this year. It's 1 through 12 this year. That determines your seeding instead of the weird way that had, first-round buys and everything last year. Then, of course, the way that how many automatic bids conferences get into the new playoff. That's all going to be voted on in the next month and a half here. And we'll talk with Shion Jayaraja about it a little bit. That's some news that's going to be important for the Big 12 moving forward, because there has been a lot of battle back and forth between Greg Sankey and all of these conference commissioners, Brett Yormark, to decide what the best style is, what the best rules are, and the way that this all shapes up for next year's college football playoff. That news is coming here soon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they decide. Has your opinion changed on the 4+4? So SEC, Big 10 get 4 teams in it, and then Big 12 an automatic 2-bid league? Or have you changed and go, now let's just take our chances with some at-large bids as the Big 12?
I might be a little bit leaning towards what Yormark was saying now. I think I have shifted a little bit because I see that they are going to be somewhat favorable. I'm going to put myself in wait-and-see mode, though, because this might be just a little bit of fool's gold with the first couple of rankings saying, okay, we respect you, the Big 12, but as these rankings continue to come out, there might be some ways that this college football playoff committee can just pull the rug right underneath us.
Well, I'll say this. There are at least 3 teams, maybe 4 in the Big 12, that I think you can pretty reliably count on to be at the top of, be in there for a conversation with the college football playoff, and that's BYU, Utah, and Texas Tech. Because it was Utah 2 years ago. Then BYU showed that I think they can consistently be right there. And then this year with the Cody Williams opening up the wallet, Texas Tech should be there every year. They should be right there. And then you add teams like Iowa State, and I mean, honestly, TCU should be better than they are consistently. And then, and Arizona State. So, I mean, my opinion's shifted a little bit in that they're 4 teams that should be legitimate contenders in the college football playoff pretty much every year.
Is Cody Williams a country singer?
What's his name? What's his actual name?
Cody Campbell?
Kobe Campbell, thank you. Who is Cody? Who's Cody?
I don't know. Cody Johnson's a country singer.
Where'd I pull? Jazz.
There you go.
Jazzman, Cody Williams.
Funding Texas Tech out there in Lubbock?
He's got some hobbies on the side.
I'm just messing with you. Cody Campbell, yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying in the sentiment of the college football playoff and what's to come here. And this is going to be an exciting month or so and month and a half where we're going to find out what the future of this college football playoff looks like, what Brett Yormark and how much power the rest of college football actually has. The one thing that's going for the rest of college football is the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten still somehow are attached to G5 conference commissioners, and the American Athletic Conference, the Mountain West Conference commissioners, are going to side with the Big 12 and the ACC somewhat to get the most access to the playoff that the rest can possibly have. Now, a little refresher, because I think this gets very confusing. This is one of college football's biggest problems, is that not enough people, they've made it so hard to understand, and their marketing of the college football playoff and the way that they make this so confusing is just awful. So here's a little refresher on the college football playoff. Seeds 1 through 12. The rankings will seed where you are in those. They'll seed the bracket by the rankings, the college football playoffs.
If you win a conference championship, doesn't come into play as far as seeding goes.
As far as seeding goes, that's correct.
Okay.
All that matters is where you're ranked. Now, remember, there are 5 total conference champions that get in no matter what. There's only 4 Power 4 leagues. That means one G5 is going to get in no matter what. The College Football Playoff Committee continues to rank after 25 until they find the first G5 champion. That's the next team in. They will very likely be the 12th seed because they will be ranked lower than the ACC's champion, who's ranked lower than the Big 12 and everybody else at this moment in time. We'll see if that changes, but I don't think it will change. So that means that G5 team will very likely be the 12th seeded team. ACC champion very likely going to be the 11th seeded team. That means the cutoff right now is at number 10. Texas is the last team in. Oklahoma will be the first team out, and BYU is the second team out, where it stands right now. Texas, number 10, Oklahoma, number 11, BYU, number 12. Utah's the third team out. Utah, to get into the college football playoff, would have to climb up to number 10 in the committee's rankings because you have a G5 champion and the ACC champion that will be 11 and 12. Does that make sense? We're all on the same page.
I gotcha.
Okay. So you need, if you are a Utah fan, Notre Dame to lose to Pittsburgh this weekend. This is who you're cheering for. Cheering for Pittsburgh. You need Texas to lose to Georgia this weekend. And you need Oklahoma to lose to Alabama this weekend. That's what you're looking at in terms of teams that you want to lose. Now, if you want to go other teams that are around you, Vanderbilt right behind at number 14 wouldn't hurt to get them a third loss. And then Miami at number 15 wouldn't hurt to bump them down. But they are the current ACC quote-unquote champion. They're going to be number 11 anyway.
Who I'm worried about, and Vanderbilt has a bye this week, but next 2 games, I am slightly concerned about Vanderbilt. I do not trust the committee to not let an SEC team jump over Utah. Vandy has Kentucky, which if they win that game, that shouldn't matter. But then they play at Tennessee. If Vanderbilt goes into Tennessee and beats Tennessee that last weekend of the season, and Utah is still 1 spot ahead of Vanderbilt, that scares me a little.
Now, the one thing we've talked a lot about is the advanced analytics and how much this committee has loved advanced analytics, right? Well, the advanced analytics leans towards Utah in terms of SP Plus over Vandy because Utah, number 7 right now in SP Plus, Vanderbilt comes in at number 16. And I think the reason why they were talking and they've put Vanderbilt behind Utah with both 2 teams have 2 losses is because of those advanced analytics. And that is one thing that will go your way when they're talking about, okay, this Vandy team versus this Utah team. where do we think they are? Okay, we'll go with Utah because that's what the advanced analytics say right now.
Yeah,
Bryce, where's Tennessee on the S&P Plus? Because I got a little bit conspiracy theory with Tennessee.
Let me do a quick search real quick. Tennessee comes in at number 26.
Okay. Are there just – you probably don't know offhand because we don't cover Vols football very closely, but I wonder if –
Excuse me. That was – sorry, I have to correct myself. This thing auto-searched to a different strength of schedule. They have the 26 SP Plus strength of schedule.
Strength of schedule.
Their
okay.
SP Plus comes in at number 17,
okay,
behind Vanderbilt.
So decent. Here's my conspiracy theory. Their resume sucks. The Vols, the only thing they have going for them, and it's similar to Notre Dame, except Notre Dame at least has a win over a ranked team. It's similar to how we talk about Notre Dame, though, where it's like the best thing about your resume is that you lost to good teams. So Tennessee's best win, they don't even have a win over a team that's bowl eligible at this point. Like
That's incredible.
Their best thing about their resume is getting blown out by Alabama and losing close games to Oklahoma and whoever else, right? There's one other currently ranked team that they've lost to. So they have no business being in the top 25 over a team like Cincinnati last week. I'm glad Cincinnati's back in this week. They moved up anyway in the top 25. So my conspiracy theory is this with Tennessee. They are in there to allow a reason for Vanderbilt to vault ahead. That's my conspiracy theory.
We've discussed this in previous years where there is a lot of shenanigans that happen at the back end of those rankings to give them a quote-unquote ranked win, right? As you just barely mentioned, they love their wins against ranked opponents. Now that Tennessee jumps up to number 23, there's a chance that they get that win over Tennessee, and that's another ranked win on the resume. That's a good point, James.
Even though that would be their fourth loss, and by the way, that would drop them out of the top 25 in the next rankings, which that's the whole there. I have a huge problem with the way that we consider wins over ranked opponents.
Yeah.
It should be what their ranking is today.
Currently.
It should not be like Georgia Tech, their SID department is going to be talking about their ranked win over Clemson earlier this year for eternity. Clemson is what, 3-4, 4-5?
Yeah.
They haven't been ranked since that game in September, but yet that's going to be considered a ranked win in Georgia Tech's records and a loss as a ranked team in Clemson's records, right? I don't think that the committee quite does that same thing, but they do contradict themselves in those situations, in the scenario that you just talked about, where it's like, oh, well, they got another ranked win, except they didn't because you don't have them ranked anymore.
Exactly. This is a problem with the college football playoff right now.
You're not kidding. It is baffling how Tennessee is ranked. If you look at, they've beaten Syracuse, ETSU, which is, I assume, Eastern Tennessee State.
I think, yeah.
They've lost to Georgia, beat UAB.
Georgia was the other one that I couldn't think of.
Right, and
they lost to two top 10 teams. Put them in the playoff.
But they played them real tough. James took them to overtime. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Arkansas by 3. Lost to Alabama. Beat Kentucky. Lost to Oklahoma, and then they have New Mexico State, Florida, and then Vanderbilt. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
they're in the top 25.
I think Mississippi State is their best win, and Mississippi State, like I said, they're a winning team right now. They have a winning record, so that there's that. But they haven't gotten to 6 wins yet.
That's just, I have not paid that close attention to Tennessee this year. That's amazing.
That's part of the reason why it was so important for Arizona State to win that game against Mississippi State early on, and they lost it on the last play of the game. Because then you at least have something to say, okay, look, Arizona State took care of business. Now the SEC is like, well, one of our worst teams, Mississippi State, beat Arizona State. That's supposed to be one of the Big 12's best teams. Obviously, they're not this year, and Sam Leavitt's now injured, and that's gone downhill for them. But that's why those regular season early games are so important for the Big 12.
They really are. And just to add just a little bit more context to this, then we can move off of the farce that is Tennessee as a ranked team. I do. The last couple of years, I made my own point system to evaluate resumes, And so it's pretty simple. 3 points for a win over a currently ranked team. 2 points for win over teams that are bowl eligible, and 1 for teams that have a winning record but are not yet bowl eligible, or above or 500 or better record but not yet bowl eligible. Which of course becomes obsolete like next week, because if you're not bowl eligible, you probably don't have a winning record. But anyway, Tennessee, the highest point total is Indiana, 12 points. They have the most resume points in that system. Tennessee is near the bottom at -2. So you also get minus. Sorry, I left out the part. You lose a point for every loss.
Okay.
You lose an additional point for a loss if you lost to a team with a losing record. So Texas has -3 points for their losses, even though they only have 2 losses because they lost to Florida, for example. So Tennessee, 3 losses, all against ranked opponents, so that they're quality losses, if you will, but only 1 point otherwise because they beat Mississippi State. They don't get any other points, so that comes out as -2 points, and that's a ranked team. Like, are we kidding? Tell me, like, give me another explanation that makes sense, other than you are trying to help the SEC get another team in.
This according to Ivan. Do you have a name for this? Because I like the Peterson Point Index. The PPI.
Yeah,
gotta get a website set up real
Peterson Point Index. So I've just been calling them college football playoff resume rankings. OC likes James Peterson resume rankings, the JPRR.
Yeah, that's good.
But Peterson Points Index is a good one.
Also, to your point with the SEC,
ESPN700sports.com, by the way, if you want to see the latest resume rankings.
There we go.
But to your point, how nice would it have been for the Big 12 if Baylor could have beaten freaking Auburn in week 1?
Yeah.
Then you have 2 bad teams, and you're going, well, our bad team is better than your bad team.
Colorado almost beat Georgia Tech, guys. That would have been another loss for Georgia Tech. They would not be near the playoff line right now with 2 losses and 1 to a bad Colorado team. And the point you just made, maybe the worst team in the conference beat maybe the best team in your conference.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech's got Georgia coming up here in a couple weeks, so we'll see how they fare against the Bulldogs and if they get punished or not for losing that game. If they end up losing it, it was a pretty good game between the two last year. One other thing I want to point out, Texas at number 10, that's interesting. Seems like the College Football Playoff Committee is not wanting to punish Texas for going on the road and playing Ohio State early on, which I'm fine with. I like that because we need bigger matchups in college football earlier on in the season and have those massive games. And we don't need teams getting punished for losing those types of games.
No, exactly right. And you lost a close game. You lost by a touchdown at Ohio State.
So going back to our point rating system here, James, one thing that I might suggest is somehow figure out to add in some points for teams that shouldn't get punished for playing those big-time games, going on the road, maybe against a top 5 opponent, something like that, where they don't get punished for that, because that's what we're seeing the College Football Playoff Committee do right here with Texas, because I mean, you could make a real good argument that they shouldn't be at number 10 either.
The other tweak, and I mentioned this with OC on the air last week, the other tweak that I've considered making is with the gap widening so much between Group of 5 and Power 4, not giving as many points for maybe giving they only count as half as many points for if you beat a team, if you beat a Group of 5 opponent with a 500 better record or is bowl eligible and not ranked, you get I feel comfortable saying, hey, you get the full 3 points because we think you're a top 25 team, we think you belong with a lot of the Power 5, but otherwise maybe making it half as many points. So yeah, there's a couple tweaks I'm considering for next season.
All right, that's a look at the college football playoff rankings right now, and of course Utah just went out. You want some carnage ahead of you. Carnage all around, and if you can just take care of business the rest of the way, we'll see what happens with these college football playoff rankings. The advanced analytics favor Utah, and you should win the rest of that schedule easily the rest of the way. So you never know what could happen with this Utah football team, Jordan.
Just take care of business and see what happens. I mean, again, not even if you don't get to the Big 12 championship game, Could play in your favor.
Very
Could
well.
work out. Because I know we got to get a break, but is the CFP taking a 2-loss BYU team that have, and let's say Texas Tech beats them soundly again in the Big 12 championship game? How big is that head-to-head? Do they take you to?
Do they favor the advanced analytics over the head-to-head?
That's right. Get the paddles ready for the BYU fans, man. If that happens, and I don't blame them, that would be brutal.
There might be riots in the streets.
Oh man,
if that were to happen.
Stay off of Cougar Board, Utes fans, in that scenario.
Haven't seen a riot like that since they ran out of Cougar tails down there.
Since Vancouver after the hockey playoffs that one year.
Right.
All right, we'll take a break. I do want to remind you before we do so, the Sean O'Connell Show is now brought to you proudly by Big Willie's Sports Bar in Salt Lake. From craft food to craft cocktails, they are the sports bar. Check them out today, 1717 South Main Street. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. We're the host of Bryce and Bianucci, filling in for Sean O'Connell right here on ESPN 792.1 FM, part of the Utah ESPN Radio Network. All right, back on the Sean O'Connell Show. Neither one of us are Sean O'Connell, but it is Bryson Bianucci. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci filling in for the great OC. He's out and about. You can find us over on the other station, ESPN 103.9, 98.3, ESPN The Fan, every single weekday morning from 7 to 10 a.m. You can join us for your morning drive if you feel like doing so. Right now, we're going to continue our conversation on college football, the college football playoff, and the future of that college football playoff as well. We'll do so with Shahan Jayaraja of CBS Sports. So let's jump out to the ESPN hotline and welcome him in. Shahan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, and for the record, I'm also not Sean O'Connell.
Well, all three of us are going to sit here and talk on Sean O'Connell's program, and hopefully the people that are listening enjoy our conversation here this morning as well. Let's start here. Let's start with the college football playoff rankings and where we see this going, specifically pertaining to the Big 12 Conference, with three teams right there all kind of vying for a spot in the future of the college football playoff. How do you feel about where the Big 12 sits at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think that the Big 12 is in very interesting shape because they've got three teams right now in the top 13. If you look at the sort of bracket, they've got two of the first three teams out, and probably more important, two of the teams right ahead of them are almost certainly going to lose. Texas goes on the road to play Georgia this weekend. Oklahoma goes to play Alabama. I would pick against both of them in those spots. And if that happens, all of a sudden the door is very much open. And, let's even get into the conversation of, could Notre Dame struggle a little bit with a team like Pittsburgh? There's a lot of opportunities remaining for the Big 12 to continue to move up. So I think that this is a huge spot for them. This is a good place for them to be. And, look, especially when you talk about Utah, I think that it is very heartening for them that the committee continues to give them this much credit.
Now, when I watched that BYU, speaking of the Big 12, BYU-Utah game, or a BYU-Texas Tech game, I beg your pardon, boy, it sure seems like Texas Tech is just in a different tier right now in the conference. Is that an overreaction, or is Texas Tech just that much better?
They are just that much better. And, obviously they've gone and they've won almost all their games by multiple scores. The one that they didn't was a freshman quarterback backup starting on the road. And, I think they'd love to have that one back as well. But, Texas Tech is just in a different weight class right now. If you want to look at stuff like the SP Plus analytic ratings, they rate Texas Tech as the number 4 team in the country ahead of every team in the SEC. This is an analytic system that looks drive to drive wise. And so, look, I think that Utah is still a really high-quality team. I think that BYU is still a really high-quality team. But there is a clear head of the snake in this conference, and it's Texas Tech. Now, I will say this. I think that, obviously for BYU to go out there and kind of get beat down on offense the way that they did was a struggle. But the other piece of this as well is that I think that the committee will give Texas Tech a lot of credibility. And so if BYU, for example, were to make it through and make it back to Arlington and play at least a closer game the second time around, I think that they can get back a little bit of that credit. But there is a clear sort of top contender right now in the Big 12, and it's Texas Tech.
There's currently a conversation right now in college football in general on whether or not conference championship games should really hurt teams that are vying to get into the college football playoff. Now, we've discussed a lot about Utah potentially getting the Big 12 championship game, even BYU. I think BYU more specifically in this. If they were to get to the conference championship game, they lose. How much do you think the college football playoff committee is going to fault them for losing in the conference championship game? Because we've talked about this in the past. We don't want these conference championship games to hurt these teams from their chances at getting into the college football playoff.
No, I absolutely agree. And I am pleased, frankly, that the committee did not do that last year. That SMU lost, obviously, in a close game, and they basically weren't punished for it and still made the college football playoff. I think that should be the case if Utah still makes the field. I think that should be if they make the conference title game, I think that should be the case if BYU makes it. Even if Texas Tech makes it and, for example, loses a close game to one of those two teams, I think that they should still probably make it. Now, I think what gets interesting, right, is last year you have a game that goes down to the wire, goes to overtime. By the way, a Clemson team that was like number 19 in the country. So this would be different than playing a top 13 team like is projected right now. But I do think that, let's say, for example, that BYU goes and plays Tech and gets destroyed again, loses by 4 touchdowns. I think that does put you in a tougher situation, I think, even though you already have kind of that loss on your schedule. But I think that overall, as long as the result isn't disastrously bad, I expect that teams will not be punished in any meaningful way for playing in a conference championship game. Because the reality is this too, right? You as a sport and as a committee and also as a television partner want to make sure that these conference championship games are still valued. We don't want conversations like what Lane Kiffin talked about last year of like, well, we should be angling to miss it. You want teams to want to play in these games.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Utah I would say Utah's probably angling to try and miss the college or the Big 12 Conference Championship game. Obviously, if you ask them, they're going to say, "Of course, we want to get there." But at this point, with the third loss, it seems like it might not go their way if that is the case. Shahan Jayaraja is here with us from CBS Sports on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking a little bit of college football. Let's talk about Utah as they head to Baylor. Baylor in a little bit of turmoil with the athletic director, Mack Rhoades, at this moment in time. Give us a little context here. You're a Baylor grad. What is Waco like? What's this athletic department dealing with at this moment in time? And a little background on one Mack Rhoades.
Yeah, this is unfortunately another kind of messy moment for Baylor's athletic department. Now, the thing that you do say is at least it wasn't as messy as it was when I graduated from school back in 2016.
Yeah.
This is a moment that I think is really just not a great one and not a great look for Baylor for a couple of reasons. One, so for people who don't know, so Mack Rhoades, the athletic director, who is also, by the way, the college football playoff chair, he has taken a personal leave of absence. Now, talking to people down there, let's just say that I think that leave might have been a little bit more, let's say, of a mutual situation than him kind of doing it singularly. There's a 28-day timeline that they've put forth. I think that there could be action taken before then. And while nothing is set in stone, talking to people around the program, there is kind of this expectation that he's probably not going to be back whenever an investigation into him is completed by Baylor. So, what does that mean for Baylor? One, I mean, you've got a coach right now in Dave Aranda that, frankly, is very much on the hot seat and people very much expected to be fired. Well, that becomes a lot more complicated because, look, if you could fire the athletic director yesterday and get somebody new in the door in a week or two, that's one thing. But if you have to go through this process potentially from an HR perspective before any decision can be made, well, that makes it a lot tougher to bring in somebody in time. And Baylor's last game is on November 29th. So are they going to be able to make a decision in the next 2 or 3 weeks and get into the coaching market? And by the way, even if they do bring in somebody to make that firing, they won't have done any legwork necessarily on the hiring process. So it puts everything into turmoil. It makes everything a mess. And again, this is just kind of the last thing that Baylor needed right now, especially, by the way, heading into a game against Utah that, to be frank, I think is going to go very poorly for them.
Well, you mentioned up the potential firing of Dave Aranda and the future coaching carousel, which was one of the most interesting ones that we'll see in college football, maybe ever. Do you see any dominoes falling where Big 12 head coaches, currently sitting head coaches, might be up for other gigs around the country? And do you think that there's any Big 12 fan bases out there that should be worried about losing their head coach at this moment in time?
I think the big one would be Matt Campbell at Iowa State. That's going to ultimately be a preference thing. We've seen Matt Campbell turn down some of the best jobs in football over the past couple of years. But you expect someday he's going to find an opportunity that's right for him. I mean, we'll see, for example, how far down the list Penn State gets. I think that Matt Campbell would be an incredible hire at Penn State. So, that's, I think, probably the biggest one that I'd say. When I look around the rest of the landscape, people are probably going to come for Kalani Sitake. I don't expect them to be successful. Kenny Dillingham has already said, I'm not going anywhere. So I don't necessarily see a lot of other places where I expect coaches to go. Maybe Kansas with Lance Leipold could have been one, but by the way, Kansas is coming off a pretty disappointing season, so I don't know how attractive necessarily he is versus how he might have been a couple of years ago. And also the top job that you think might have come for him would have been Wisconsin, which is not going to open this year, as the athletic director confirmed that he's not coming back. So I think the biggest one when you talk about poaching would be Matt Campbell at Iowa State. But I will say as well, the two other jobs that I'm keeping a close eye on in terms of changes being made are both retirement cases, right? One, I mean, I don't think it's a secret at the University of Utah. We'll see when Kyle Whittingham is ready to hang it up. And of course, they already have a head coach in waiting in place, and I think that everybody kind of knows what that next step will look like. The other is Colorado with Deion Sanders, and, you know, obviously it's been a miserable season for him. He's dealing with a lot of legitimate health issues, and so, you know, there could be a time when they kind of mutually decide it's time to move on to the next thing.
If Dave Aranda is fired, where does Baylor rank among the Big 12 schools as far as a desirable head coaching job?
Yeah, I think it's very high. I think it's very high. You know, I think that you kind of have a top group of, you know, let's say Baylor and TCU. I think Texas Tech in this moment. Certainly Utah has to be there. I think BYU probably has to be there. So I think that's kind of how I would formulate my top group, let's say. And I think that Baylor is, you know, so if you were to rank it, like I know that I think SI did a ranking of Big 12 jobs, and they counted Baylor and TCU as the top two jobs in the Big 12. I don't know if I'd have them solidly top two, but I think I would have them solidly top 4 or 5. So I expect there to be a lot of interest in this job. Baylor's an interesting situation because it's a private school. They've got solid funding, solid money, solid resources and support. And so, you know, it's kind of a place where you're able to come and build and not be bothered too much and have a decent leash and figure some things out. So I think it'll actually be a very attractive job when it opens to certain types of candidates. And so, you know, I know that people are going to kind of point out, hey, if Baylor opened, it would be the 10th job open in this market with more potentially to come. I don't necessarily know that you're fighting with the same types of people who are having some of these fights, right? Like, I don't think you're hiring against LSU or Florida. I think you're more hiring against Oklahoma State and Arkansas, and I think you'd be able to make a pretty good case against either of those schools.
All right, Shahan, before we let you go, do got to get your opinion on this game coming up tomorrow, 5 p.m. start on ESPN2. Utah on the road at Baylor in Waco. It's a 9.5-point line according to ESPN Bet at this moment in time. How do you see this one going? What do you think happens between the Utes and the Bears tomorrow?
Yeah, the short answer is Utah by a billion, but the longer answer is I think that when you look at Baylor's biggest weaknesses, it has been stopping the run. And I think that Utah will be able to decimate them in that area, especially when you talk about the side-to-side run. I think Baylor has really struggled at defensive ends with setting the edge. And, you know, their linebackers are honestly pretty decent, but I think that if you're able to kind of run around the sides from them like Utah likes to do with this Jason Beck offense, they're going to be able to move them at will. So I expect that Utah's going to have a lot of success offensively. Now, you know, Baylor has a fantastic passing offense. I think they're going to be able to make some stuff happen, you know, and put at least some points up on the board. But I think that this ends up being something like I think this could legitimately be like a 49-21 type game with Utah running away with it.
Yeah, you'd hope, at least here in Salt Lake City, that is the case for Utah. As long as they take care of that football, don't make many mistakes, they should be able to get the win out there on the road. Shahan, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for jumping on with us here.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is Shahan Jeyarajah right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci as we continue to talk some college football on a Football Friday edition of the program. Some interesting commentary from Shahan right there about not only the Mack Rhodes situation, but, of course, he thinks Utah by $1 billion tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what OC's been talking about all week as well. That run defense is just brutal. And that may be one of the big reasons why Aranda gets fired is he's a defensive guy. He took over calling plays last year.
Yeah.
And it's just been a disaster this season.
But it is interesting what he mentioned. You don't have an athletic director. Are you going to be able to make the decision? Is the president going to step in and take over the operational point of view here? Do you have the money to be able to get the buyout going? Do you all of these things have to be thought about? Is it really a viable option to fire Dave Aranda when they've fired everybody around him. We're talking about Jeff Grimes. We're talking about Eric Mateos. You go down the list, they have fired everybody in the last 3 years.
Yeah, Dave Aranda may be the only guy in Waco that's happy about what's going on in the athletic department right now. He's like, maybe they'll forget about me for a minute. I don't. You're right. The other aspect to this is how many great head coaching jobs are there vacant right now in college football? A lot. More than I can remember ever seeing. So even if everything else were great at Baylor and with the athletic director and all of that, who are you going to get? Because you may be at the top of the totem pole in the Big 12 or toward the top, but you're not when Penn State's open. When who else am I thinking? I was going to say UCLA, but I don't know
LSU.
how great that. Yeah, but LSU. I don't know, man. It's bad timing right now.
It is bad timing to need and be in search of a head coach. I'm curious to see which Big 12 teams lose their head coaches this year in the domino effect. And it's not necessarily one right off the bat where Matt Campbell would leave to go to Penn State. No, it's Penn State hires their head coach from somewhere else, and Matt Campbell might go to that school.
Yeah.
There's a lot of connections around the country where that could happen, and we've got a lot of examples of that happening in the past. So just strap up. Be ready.
Strap in, people.
Buckle up, my friends.
My gosh.
Be ready for what's to come. We'll take a break here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Do want to remind you before we do so that Fierce Fighting is back at the SLC Masonic Temple tonight. You can enter to win VIP tickets and find more details about the event coming up at ESPN700sports.com. That is later on tonight. So go on and enter to win those Fierce Fighting Championship tickets. We'll take a break. A PGA Tour leaderboard on the other side as we wrap up the first hour of the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci filling in for one Sean O'Connell on a Friday right here on ESPN 792.1 FM. A little Tom Sawyer by Rush bringing us back from the break. I'm Bryce Larson. That is Jordan Bianucci. You know what's really weird about this song playing right now? We didn't tell James about this earlier, but we were both talking about us having gone to Hannibal, Missouri earlier this morning.
Oh, yeah.
How that came up.
A little weird.
Hometown of one Mark Twain, right?
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer.
Good call.
I heard that.
Finn?
That's why it chose this song.
There's the connection.
Was this a little connection to Sawyer Robertson? A little backdoor connection.
There's that too.
And Jordan's old high school friend, Sawyer Robertson.
My buddy Sawyer. Thought it all week. James forgot that was his first name. Been calling him by his. Thought it was his last name.
Everybody's texting.
Did you think it was Robert Sawyerson?
I was thinking old Robert Sawyer. Yeah. No.
Everybody's texting in on our program, 7 to 10 a.m. over on the other station. That, hey, Jordan, sounds like you're like buddies with this guy.
Yeah, I know him.
First name basis.
We went to Hannibal, Missouri together. Went on a little trip. Went out on
visited his relatives.
Went out on the boat. Did you know Bryce painted a picket fence?
I did.
In Hannibal.
I did.
You didn't pawn it off on somebody?
Did you really?
Nope. Yeah.
Was that like a tourist like event you could do, the activity you could do?
Yeah, it was Huckleberry Finn Days when I was in Hannibal, Missouri. Just happened to be. We were driving through and we're like, oh, it's Huck Finn Days. Okay, let's stop by. They had a white picket fence that you could paint that was supposedly, the white picket
fence.
So there you go.
All right. I too actually I too have been to Hannibal, Missouri. One time family did the, basically cross country road trip from St. George to Nauvoo. And one way we went through the southern direction, so we went through Missouri into Illinois. The other way we went the north and down through Wyoming into Utah, Nebraska, Wyoming into Utah. So we stopped in Hannibal. I don't remember doing anything cool like that though. We should have bought some paint and just
didn't even some random fences.
Didn't even need to be that fence. Just hey, I found a picket fence. Let's paint this.
There you go.
Actually, make someone else paint it for you if you're really going to do it the right way.
Now that I think of it, there's probably a lot of people that have a shared experience for some reason in Hannibal, Missouri.
Well, I was going to say there's a disproportionate amount of Mormons that have been to Hannibal, Missouri.
Driving that same route.
Yeah.
We all stopped off in Hannibal. Text in if you stopped off in Hannibal
on the way to Nauvoo.
I liked Hannibal. I thought because when you've never been back there, you go and you see the Mississippi River, and it was amazing. That blew me away when I was a kid.
I think can you do the go into the cave?
I believe so.
We were going to do that, but for some reason didn't work out. Maybe we chickened out. I don't know. Maybe my parents chickened out. I was like 9, so this was a long time ago.
A while back.
I have a T-shirt of the Cat House, which is a barbecue joint on the river. A T-shirt with a big catfish on it from the Cat House.
It's amazing.
I insisted on getting that T-shirt.
All right. Well, that's good.
If you haven't been to Hannibal, please go so then you can tell us you've been to Hannibal.
Sounds like you're an outsider if you haven't.
Yes. Well, yeah, what have you been doing?
All right, do want to let you know we're going to get into a PGA Tour leaderboard update from the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. That's brought to you by Uinta Golf. The new tailor-made QI 35 woods are the 4th generation of carbon wood technology. This driver unlocks a new level of distance only at Uinta Golf. Let's jump into it. The PGA Tour leaderboard update right now from the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Adam Hadwin leads at 11 under through, let's see, what is he through so far today in the second round? It's not giving me that information.
I think he's...
Is he finished?
Oh, yeah, he's finished. Yeah, he's finished
out
for the day. 1 stroke on top of a couple other guys for the lead.
Yeah, Chandler Phillips, Braden Thornberry right behind him. Couple of golfers from the state of Utah. Zach Blair, T20. Currently at 4 under. He's through 9 on the day so far. So shout out to Zach Blair. That's not bad at this moment in time from the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. One of the 2 golfers that are in the field from the state of Utah. And James, the other one, you can pull out here.
Patrick Fishburne, former BYU great.
There you go.
I'm
not seeing him on here, though. That's why I'm scrolling.
Let's see. you know what? He showed up yesterday. I don't know.
At a
Are
bad
they
day.
doing a
Might
quick,
not have made the cut.
do they have an early cut for this tournament? Anyway, maybe not Patrick Fishburne. And you guys
Here we go. T34.
There
Took
we
me
go.
a minute to
That's what I
scroll.
thought.
2 under right now at this moment in time. He's through 8 so far today. So there you
All
go.
right,
T34.
good. I'm glad you found him. And of course, I know that he's a former BYU great because I listen to Utah Golf Radio every Saturday 8 to 10, and they cover college golf like no other. Paul Pugmire and Jan Brownstein.
Yes, they do. They do a very phenomenal job. And we've got our golf insider on this program, Jordan Bianucci.
Ask me anything, and I'll tell you a lot about golf. Hitting that ball and trying to get it into the hole. It's I've been
woods
golfing
and irons.
Yeah, that's right. The wedge. Oh, how about the wedge? We were talking about the putting.
That's right.
Use the putter to putt. Sand
Tell
traps.
us. You could tell us all about lag putting.
Never have heard of that.
How about we get into something we do know a lot
I
about,
know
which
that
is
truly one of the
college
sports I know
football.
The least about.
college football and college basketball. Hour number 2 of this program comes up next. That's a look at your golf and your PGA Tour leaderboard, of course, brought to you by You Into Golf. Hour number 2 of this program moves on. That's all next. More college football comes your way. We'll also get into the Daily Dump, take a look around at the biggest headlines here in the state of Utah and more. That comes your way in hour number 2, along with Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports as we get into that conversation also. That's next here on the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 at 92.1 FM. All right, hour number 2, the 12 o'clock hour, the Sean O'Connell Show comes your way. No Sean O'Connell today. We'll be back on a Monday edition of the program. Today, you're stuck with Bryson Bianucci. Normally over on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. You were saying, Jordan?
I was going to say, way to sell it. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry. It's not Sean O'Connell here this morning, but hopefully we get you through your Friday and into your weekend as Utah gets ready to play some football coming up tomorrow. We'll discuss some more college football, go around the Big 12 and more here in just a couple of minutes. Before we do so, I do want to remind you our daily dump comes your way, and that's coming up at 12:30 where we discuss the top headlines, some interesting headlines over the last 24 hours across the state of Utah, Jordan.
Had a lot of stuff going on.
So you don't want to go anywhere for those. We'll make sure you're up to date with what's happening around the state of Utah coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, did you know the Runnin' Utes had a signing class announcement yesterday? That's what they call a tease, guys, for the Daily Dump.
I'm still surprised that we're signing high school athletes in college athletics right now.
Yeah.
As it goes.
Yeah. They didn't sign anybody out of the G League? Come on.
We'll talk about that one, too, coming up here in just a little bit. Let's jump over to the college football side of things. Take a look at this slate of Big 12 games. Now, I've been saying this all week long, Jordan. We did not get TV times for next week's slate of games, and I find that so interesting for, like, the entire slate of Big 12 football. And that means that what that tells me for the November 22nd slate of football, because there's only one game that's announced, it's like Oklahoma State and UCF, I believe. It's ESPN plus kickoff.
They were like, we're not even going to televise it. Don't worry about it, guys.
So, yeah, you could just pick your time and you could put it on ESPN plus. The other games, none of those times were announced at all. When they normally announce them, they put them in the 6-day selection window, and that's because the suits, the television executives, they believe there's going to be carnage in the Big 12 this weekend. Does that worry you about BYU and Utah? Or does that not worry you? Because there's other teams like Cincinnati who are probably on upset alert a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about BYU and Utah. I think BYU bounces back after losing on the road. They're at home. I'm not so worried. Utah, if they lose to Baylor, that'll be shocking. And, yeah, I'm not worried about that either. Cincinnati could very well get upset by Arizona. Yeah, I mean, listen, it is the Big 12. You never know what's going to happen. But BYU and Utah this week of all weeks, I'm not as worried about. In fact, I'm surprised the line for BYU, which I think, 3.5 right now in favor of BYU, I'm a little surprised it's that low. So I'm interested to ask Lee about that when we have him on in a little bit.
Yeah, it opened up at 4.5 in favor of BYU. Now it's moved down to 3.5. So some money coming in at on TCU. That's all according to ESPN Bet. Here's your slate of games for the Big 12. This weekend, Arizona takes on Cincinnati. Cincinnati currently a 5.5-point favorite at home. It's a 10 a.m. kick on FS1. If you take a look at some of these other games, Utah and Baylor, of course, at 5 p.m. on ESPN2. That's a 9.5-point line right now. Opened up at 7.5, jumped up to 9.5 already on ESPN Bet. Then you have BYU and TCU that are going to kick off at 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. You mentioned 3.5 there as it's moved a little bit. The rest of these teams are in action. Texas Tech will take on UCF. 23.5 points is what that line sits at. You think UCF covers in that ballgame? They haven't played too bad. Well, they
scored 3 points
against Baylor. That's not great.
That's not great. So I don't feel confident at all, no.
Does Texas Tech pitch the shutout against UCF?
They very well could.
They should, probably.
Yeah, let's be honest. They should.
You know another storyline about that Texas Tech team? This is a different team if Baron Morton, and, heaven forbid this happens, further aggravates that injury. This is a completely different football team down the stretch because number 2 behind him, Mr. Hammond, tore his ACL, the LDS kid out of Texas that came in against Utah in that game at Rice-Eccles that just kind of tore it up. He tore his ACL. And now you're to a third-string quarterback that didn't play college football last year.
Mormon kid?
No, the second.
No, the second kid?
Yeah, he's LDS.
I wonder if he's been to Hannibal. Bet he has.
Thank you for bringing that. I was so confused. I was like, Jordan, I've said this 15 times
No,
since we've talked about Texas. I thought you finally caught on that they use LDS.
I bet she's been to Hannibal, Missouri.
I bet he has.
That's the first Jordan's heard of it, actually.
Yeah, never. Interesting.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Now you killed my train of thought here.
Should we call a gas station in Hannibal to see if
we should do
Tim
that.
Hammond
In
has
fact,
been there?
We definitely should have done that. Yeah. How many LDS people you get through here?
They're like, what?
In the minivans.
They're like, LD. What does that mean?
What's that?
How many of the Mormons you get in there? Oh, we get a lot of them down here.
All right.
Stop calling him that.
Saying, what I was saying is that third string quarterback for Texas Tech, if he has to come in, who's obviously now the backup, this is a kid that didn't play college football last year.
Yeah.
Transferred from Wake Forest, I believe. That's a completely different offense for Texas Tech. If Baron Morton goes down, he had a hairline fracture in his tibia last week playing against BYU.
Yeah, he was wearing like an iron shin guard under his sock. I'm telling you, if Texas Tech can get out to a big lead, they should. I wouldn't put that kid out there in the second half at all. That's the only thing that can slow down Texas Tech is if he goes down. That's it. They're a juggernaut right now.
We'll keep an eye out on that one specifically with the status of Baron Morton the rest of the way as well. West Virginia and Arizona State, they'll take place TNT 11 a.m. kickoff. Arizona State's a 10.5-point favorite there. And then we mentioned Kansas State and Oklahoma State. It's on ESPN Plus. That's ESPNU.
They're putting that on ESPNU?
Yeah, that's ESPNU. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, 19.5 is the line in favor of the Wildcats.
Is the Big 12 better or worse than you thought it would be this year based on your preseason predictions?
I think the top of the Big 12 is better overall. There are very good teams in the Big 12 conference. It's better than I thought they would be. I thought there'd be a lot more weird carnage. Now, remember last year, the last 4 weeks of the season is where all that chaos and carnage came from. So cross your fingers that doesn't happen again if you're a fan of one of the top 3 Big 12 teams currently in the conference, because that very well could happen here.
Yeah, I mean, look at Houston. Coming into the year, I thought they'd be okay. They looked pretty good, and then they lose to West Virginia. So it's just, weird stuff. And, I mean, we can go through the scenarios. If you're a Utah fan, what you're cheering for is pretty simple. You want BYU and Cincinnati to lose. Next week, it gets more complicated. Next week, you want Cincinnati to beat Utah. It really gets into the weeds.
If you're a Utah fan, do you want your team to get to the conference championship game? Like, to be honest with you, if you want your best chance at getting in the college football playoff, is it really through the conference championship game? Now, I'll say if Texas Tech is without their starting quarterback, that's a different conversation. But do you really want to get to the conference championship game, risk a third loss, or do you want to slide into that number 10 spot and say, hey, no conference championship game, you get into the college football playoff, you continue to play meaningful football?
Well, here's the question, too. If BYU gets into that conference championship game and gets beat, they're not getting into the playoff after that, right?
Well, in the past, we just talked with Shahan Jayaraja. In the past, the College Football Playoff Committee has not penalized teams for playing in the conference championship game.
I know.
Now, how would that be different with BYU versus Utah? Utah, if they lose, that's a third loss. Do they penalize them?
They will. Yeah, you can't lose again if you're Utah. But if BYU doesn't get in, someone may just leapfrog Utah and get in. Because I don't know if the committee, how they...
It's awfully pessimistic of you over there.
Well, you should. The committee, at some point, you do have to value wins on the field in head-to-head matchups. That is kind of the name of the game. I don't know. This will become a lot clearer after this week when Georgia and Alabama play. Texas and Oklahoma play those two teams.
Yeah. If Texas and Oklahoma lose to Georgia and Alabama this weekend, well, you're going to find out where Utah and BYU, just either they slide up. Does Vandy, with their quote-unquote ranked win against Tennessee, if that's a thing, they end up winning that one later on in the season? Where does all of this come to fruition? Yeah, this is going to be interesting down the stretch with this college football slate this weekend, especially Notre Dame and Pittsburgh. Is there any chance Notre Dame loses to Pittsburgh? They're a 12.5-point favorite at home. Or on the road, excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think so.
A road game.
Yeah.
It is a road game.
Come on now. Acrisure Stadium. Come on now.
There's going to be some bad weather, some bright lights. Pat McAfee's probably jumping into rivers this weekend.
Fantastic. I think going back to Utah, if they want to get to the Big 12 championship game, they have a better chance of beating Texas Tech than BYU does in that game. If quarterback's healthy, if they can win I don't know if they can win the line of scrimmage. That's where they got beat badly in that game against Texas Tech. But Dampier wasn't himself. I would pick Texas Tech because I just think they're so good, but I have more faith in Utah winning that game than I do anybody else in the Big 12.
That's a fair statement. The other thing that I would say about that, though, is have we seen anything else that's going to change your mind about the downfield passing game of this Utah offense? That's still a question mark for me.
Oh, it's a big question.
Do you have an athlete, a weapon to push the ball down the field to bring those players out of the box for Texas Tech? Because you know what they did? We all saw it. They lined up their safeties 10 yards off the line of scrimmage and said, "We dare you to try us deep down the field."
Yeah.
And it didn't work out for them.
Hey, one time it worked that Spencer Fano was 10 yards
That's right.
downfield. No, I would agree that Utah over BYU has a better chance at beating Texas Tech, but I'm not. We do predictions on the Ute Game Day pregame show with Porter Larson and Trevor Riley, and Porter always asks my prediction at the end, even though I don't say anything else during the show. I appreciate the chance to give a prediction.
Some animosity coming over there?
No, I just mean like it might sound random, like, hey, this guy over here, what's his prediction? But no, I typically, like, every time I'm like, Utah's going to win. If it's like any doubt that they might lose, I typically go, yeah, it's a close game. Utah wins by a score, right? That game, if they make it to Arlington, I'm probably picking Texas Tech. There's nothing. The downfield passing game's a concern. The one thing that gives me pause is when Baron Morton was in the game, Utah's defense handled their offense. Other than the big play, the 70-yard play or whatever,
where nobody could tackle anybody.
Yeah, where nobody could tackle, but that only led to one score. The rest of the game, with Baron Morton in the game, they contained him really well.
True.
It wasn't until Hammond got in there and that they started dicing up Utah's defense, and you couple that with the fact that Morton was healthy at that point. He obviously got injured. That's why he left the game, but they were handling a fully healthy Baron Morton-led Texas Tech offense. This time, this is going to be a compromised Baron Morton. And if he goes down, like you guys said, they really got nobody behind him. And so that's the one thing that makes me go, if they have a chance to play that team again, maybe with Morton in there the whole game, or, a lot more injured Baron Morton for whatever reason, maybe Utah can really pull that game out. But I still, man, Texas Tech's defense just does not let you move the ball.
They're very good.
Yeah. So and Utah, because of those down the field passing issues, I think that they have to be ahead if that were to happen in order to have a real chance at winning that game, because they have to be able to run the ball. Because I'm not sure they can really come back with the pass if they haven't been able to establish the run, especially. So that's Texas Tech just feels far and away the best team in the conference.
So let me ask you guys this question, because a couple of years ago we saw this from the College Football Playoff Committee. If Utah does get to the conference championship game, let's say that they play a Texas Tech with a hurt Baron Morton, and maybe he's not able to go the rest of the way, does the College Football Playoff penalize Texas Tech as well for losing in that conference championship game, but also for the hurt quarterback situation like we saw at Florida State a couple of years ago, and they're suddenly on the outside of this College Football Playoff, and Utah's the only team in the College Football Playoff from the Big 12? Is that a scenario that you see happening?
If Morton is for some reason like out for this season, I can see them punishing Texas Tech for losing that game. They'll come up with some rationale for it. But if he's not, even if they lose that game, you can't. I don't like that. You can't punish them for winning and getting to an extra game and then losing it after having a great year. But I don't know. The reason I think BYU might get punished is you lost to the same team twice. I don't know. That's a great question.
Well, you lose to the same team twice. OC has said this. Not only is it the same team twice, but this is a no doubt playoff team.
Yeah.
And so the committee might see that as like, why are we giving them a chance to play no doubt playoff teams if they've already proven they can't hold their water?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And they might. That's where the analytics that favor Utah is like that. I absolutely could see. I wouldn't agree with it. I would take it as, we're home of the Utes, but I wouldn't agree with it. I could absolutely see Utah leapfrogging BYU, even though head-to-head, even though they'd have the same amount of losses, even though they got blown out by the same team just one less time because of those analytics favoring Utah so well. I like I said, I would not agree with it because the games have to matter. Like Jordan, you said that earlier. Like that, the head-to-head has to matter. But we've seen crazier things that the committee's decided to do. The Florida State situation's a good one to bring up.
That is true. And how does this all change now that Mac Rhodes is no longer on the College Football Playoff Committee, as well as the sitting chairman, who's going to be sitting in front of the media trying to explain all of this stuff? Of course, Mark Harlan steps in. And the Arkansas AD, Yurachek, steps in to be the committee chairman. Harlan's on the playoff committee. So now how does all of this change in terms of what the College Football Playoff Committee now discusses? Does it change a lot with Harlan in there at all? Or because Mac Rhodes was a Baylor guy, was he allowed to be in on the conversations, or did he have to recuse himself in the conversations of Utah and BYU, Texas Tech? That's my biggest question of all of this as well.
Surely he had to. The rule can't change just because it's a different guy coming in, right?
Well, it's a different connections. What connections to Utah and BYU does Mac Rhodes have to those institutions?
I thought the rule was that if they're talking about your conference, you don't have to recuse yourself. Is that?
I believe it is specifically
just teams that you have connections
school-based.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then also now I think this year they've added an extra layer to that to say if you have a close person around you that is connected to any other schools. For some weird reason, they've added like a second layer. If you have a friend,
your spouse,
or a spouse that attended this university,
okay,
you now have to leave
or works there or something. Your son works in that certain school's athletic department or something, or is it a professor there? I don't know.
Something like
that. That's right. So your stepdaughter is a professor
or is a student at that school.
Tell us that.
Yeah.
Russian literature.
So some weird
Russian.
So the question is, how does the committee change its mind about the Big 12, if at all, now that Mark Harlan's in the room?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think much. But I don't know. Is there a chance, though? I mean, based on that it actually hurts Utah and BYU that he's in the room because he has to recuse himself, whereas Rhodes didn't have to?
Potentially.
Does your school being within does the school being within 40 miles in like a really bitter rivalry count as a connection to that school? Does he have to recuse himself with BYU?
Have you ever? It's on the questionnaire. Have you ever been fined by the conference for making comments after you played this school?
So that's the criteria that they're going to have to follow.
You must leave the room then.
I am very curious to see what the next couple of iterations of these college football playoff rankings look like, and then how far BYU and Utah, if they continue to win, can climb up there to see if we could safely, and I say we as a Big 12 conference, we're all Big 12 fans here.
I hate the Big 12.
If the Big 12 can possibly get 3 teams in. Is that a crazy thing to say?
No, I'm an SEC guy. They should get 7 SEC teams in.
Is it lined up for the Big 12 to get 3 teams in, and if things fall the conference's way?
If a lot of things fell the conference's way. But even then, I don't think so. Okay, yes, if BYU were to beat Texas Tech in the championship game and Utah gets help with teams losing in front of them, sure.
Do you believe that's the only way that the conference gets 3 teams in?
Yeah.
Because Texas Tech's too good. You can't drop them all the way out.
No.
BYU obviously would get that conference champion bid into it, and then Utah can find themselves at 9 or 10 and get in.
Yeah. I think the simplest way is, besides, one of them winning the conference, like you say, BYU winning the conference championship game, is the 3 teams ahead of you that have tough games this week all lose. And Texas, in the case of Texas, maybe they can win and then lose to Texas A&M, right? Notre Dame loses to Pitt. Texas loses to Georgia this week. Oklahoma loses to Alabama. Even though Oklahoma is technically outside the picture, they are ahead of you in the rankings. Those three things happen this weekend. Then you're looking at a scenario where, at least as of next week, you're on track to having 3 teams in, unless, like you guys have both mentioned, for some reason they want to leapfrog Vandy over Utah or BYU. Then maybe you only have 2. But that's there's a path to an at-large for both BYU and Utah, which is just insane to think with the way the season has gone.
I am very curious to see how they would treat a three-loss SEC team versus these Big 12 teams.
Exactly what I was thinking.
And whether or not Texas and Oklahoma actually move. Because we talk about it like it's a for sure thing, because it makes sense to us. Oh, yeah, if they lose another game, you should move ahead of them because you have one less loss. That makes a lot of sense to us. You know who it doesn't make sense to? Everybody vouching for the SEC inside that committee. How far do 3-loss SEC teams move if they end up losing this coming weekend? That will be fascinating to see.
What if Texas has Alabama, right?
That's Georgia.
Georgia. So what if Texas or Oklahoma, who's playing? I'm getting them all mixed up.
Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas, Georgia.
If Oklahoma loses to Alabama in overtime, how far do they drop?
Yeah.
And if Texas loses to Georgia
that's a good loss, Jordan.
That's what I'm saying. In overtime, because it is
tough to win in Tuscaloosa.
Well, it is. I mean, to be fair, that is a good loss. Like you know what I mean. You can't. I'm not saying you reward them necessarily.
Yeah.
But that's.
It's not a shame. There's no shame in losing that way.
No, on the road. So I just.
That's why you. I mean, you probably have to root, if you're a Utah or BYU fan. You probably have to root for Bama to blow Oklahoma out, and then honestly, you just want. You want Texas to lose to both Georgia and A&M.
Yes.
Because there's no – okay, you're right, Bryce. Logically, they probably shouldn't have those teams ahead of Utah and BYU if they were to lose,
right.
But they don't always apply basic logic to this thing, the committee. But there's no way in hell they're putting a 4-loss team in.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
and especially one that also lost to a team that fired their coach and has a losing record in Florida.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of their losses.
Wasn't a bad loss.
Steve Sarkisian, I'll tell you what. Steve Sarkisian's already started the propaganda over there.
Lord.
Well, I think that the SEC last year got gypped out of another playoff spot. 3-loss SECs. We play in the toughest
it's absurd.
conference in the country.
Absurd we didn't get in.
So the propaganda's already started for these SEC schools.
That Feinbaum guy, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that guy. He's all over it, too. So I will say don't be surprised, because then you're going to have a dilemma on their hands where you've got a BYU team that's not great in the advanced analytics sphere, and then they get into that problem and issue of, okay, well, BYU beat Utah, and that's a head-to-head win. Do we move both of them up a little bit further? This gets really tough for the College Football Playoff Committee. If there's a 3-loss SEC team, then they're looking at advanced analytics and say, well, how can we have Utah in here when BYU beat them and the advanced analytics look better? It gets very convoluted all of the sudden really fast.
It does, and I think James is right. I don't have any confidence where they're going to go, let's go with the analytics here. And yeah, they lost to them on the field in a game they played against each other. That would be just so crazy, but that could absolutely happen.
All right, well, we're in for some chaos this weekend in college football, and we'll definitely keep you up to date with it as we go throughout today's program. And, of course, Sean will be back on a Monday. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. And James Peterson behind the glass on a Friday edition of the Sean O'Connell Show. Do want to remind you that Rod Stewart with the special guest Richard Marks is taking over the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on Friday, June 19th. You can tune into The Drive with Spence Checketts around 4 p.m. today for your chance to win a pair of tickets. More details at ESPN700sports.com and over on the ESPN 700 app. Coming up next, your Daily Dump. We'll take a look around at the headlines, some more shocking than others. And then we'll dive into the specifics of this, get you up to date with all the things that are happening around the state of Utah and the world of sports. That's next right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, top headlines around the world of sports and more. We're back at it on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Bryce Larson. That is Jordan Bianucci filling in for the great Sean O'Connell. He'll be back on a Monday edition of the program, so don't worry. Stick right around, and you'll have Sean O'Connell back on the air. Mentioned you can listen to us every single weekday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. over on 103.9 FM and 98.3 FM from 7 to 10 a.m. on ESPN The Fan. That's where Bryson Bianucci can be heard every single weekday morning. So make sure you check us out. The top headlines right here brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. We'll jump right into it, the latest around the world of sports. We mentioned this a couple times throughout the show so far already, but Mark Harlan will be replacing Baylor Athletic Director Mack Rhoades on the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. This will be the second time Harlan has served on the committee. Rhoades is on a leave of absence from Baylor, and Arkansas Athletic Director Hunter Yurachek will be replacing Rhoades as the committee chair. That means you'll see him doing all the interviews to the media, Jordan.
No, really? All
Hunter
right.
Yurachek.
Okay.
Yes, the Arkansas Athletic Director.
Didn't know who that was until you just said it, but glad to see he's going to get out there.
Well, he's got a coaching search to
I know,
get
that's
out there
right.
and take care of. But no, he's going to sit in on this College Football Playoff Committee chair and start answering questions. He's got the hardest job now. Like, why would anybody agree to that?
No.
I wonder how much they got to pay him to do that.
They're pulling sticks. They're drawing, that he got the short end because no one wants to do that.
Nobody wants to be the guy that has to go on ESPN and then ESPN radio, and everybody just throws him under the bus.
I want to see him go on ESPN and ESPN radio and just say, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You start talking yourself into circles. People pick apart every single word that you say. Yeah, that's a tough job to have right there in terms of explaining what the committee was talking about and everything, all those conversations, what they were like inside that quote-unquote war room as well. All right, let's jump over to the basketball side of things. The Runnin' Utes have announced Alex Jensen's inaugural signing class. It's the 97th ranked signing class on On3 as of a few days ago. It could be higher because they've added 3 or so guys since then. So here's your list of dudes that are signed with Utah that will be coming in. 4-star Jackson Johnson, 3-star Styles Clemens, 3-star David Katoa, unrated Zati Lubaki, and then there's a unranked Simeon Sugu Turaga. So that is your new class of Runnin' Utes so far. Jordan Bianucci, this is Alex Jensen's inaugural signing class. I'm surprised that there's still the recruiting of high school players at this moment in time.
You can get them from everywhere else. Some local guys, too, from Orem, Sandy, obviously Johnson went to Alta, and then a Utah Prep guy in Katoa.
Yeah, Utah Prep, of course. AJ DeBansa's Utah Prep guy as well. That's
So Utah got the better Utah Prep guy, is what you're saying?
Oh, maybe 6'4" guard. He's 170 pounds.
A lot of these guys, there's a couple of these guys that are like big guards too, which obviously I think bodes well for. It gives you an advantage when you have bigger guards. We saw Yegor Demon with BYU last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Have that advantage of being a bigger guy. But some of these guys, not just tall, big, like the couple of guys 6'4", 200-something pounds. You're like, all right, see, you could do something with this guy. Zati Lubaki is the junior college transfer, Trinity Community College. So he's one. I think he's 6'9", big dude. He's got some range. Can step out, be a stretch 4 type guy or stretch 5 type guy. So he's one of those unrated guys. I don't know that the recruiting sites typically rank the junior college players the same way with everyone else. So if he were coming out of high school, maybe he's at least a 3-star too. So some context to, hey, 97th is not that high of a class, but they didn't have at least one of these players, or at least 3 of these players when On3 published those rankings a few days ago, and you got a junior college guy as part of this class too, which isn't going to factor into that. But still going to be, next year I expect this still to be a rebuilding year for the Runnin' Utes, but I would say decent class they're bringing in here.
Yeah, the next question that I have in year number 1, what's everybody's expectations for Alex Jensen and the Runnin' Utes at this moment in time with what we've seen a couple games in already?
Vie for a NCAA tournament spot. Just be a bubble. Just be in the conversation in February.
Bubble team. So in the Big 12 conference, we're talking
second to last.
A lot of teams getting in. No, I mean, you're talking what, middle of the pack in the Big 12?
Yeah.
500 team in Big 12 play.
Boy, if you could go 500 in Big 12 play, absolutely. I would take that.
So you're talking under 500 team on the bubble. That could be where they're at right now. And one thing that I do want to recommend to people is that college basketball, especially with a brand new team, a little bit different than other sports as of right now, and it's different than it has been over the past couple of years. You have guys transferring in, trying to play basketball all together, and it takes a long time for these guys to gel. It does. It took that BYU team last year all the way until like the month of February, until they really started to look like that Sweet 16 team that they were. It's going to take this Utah team quite some time to gel. This year, you probably won't see who they truly are until January of the season. So don't give up on them early if they have a couple of losses here and there, some maybe even a bad loss. Flush it, move on. They won't be the true team that they will really be until probably about January. At that point, you just have to hope they stay afloat and in the conversation for a bubble spot.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing about being in the Big 12 is you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. So if you can just be competitive in there, you're right there. You don't have to figure it out in November. Figure it out by late December, January. You should be okay.
Once you get into Big 12 play.
Right. Beat the teams that you're supposed to beat in the non-conference, which they've done so far. Continue to do that. Be competitive against some of your tougher non-conference games, win or lose. That's going to help, and then be around 500. Within 2 or 3 games of 500, if not 500 in Big 12 play, you're gonna be in that bubble conversation. I don't. If anyone uses, because of the tradition of running Utes basketball, now going back 20, 30 years ago. 10 years ago in the Larry Koskoviak era, if you're holding this program to that standard in Alex Jensen's first year, it's probably too high of a standard. But being in the conversation for as long as you can in conference play, that's a successful year this year, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too discouraged with what happened with Weber State the other night either, because you see that Weber State team, oh my goodness, they go up to the Spectrum. Yeah, it's a close game. They lose by 10, but it was a much closer game throughout the entire, and that's a good Utah State basketball team.
Yeah, Weber State's good.
Weber State very well could go on to win the Big Sky this upcoming season. We'll see how that all checks out this year, but give them some time to gel together, to figure out the rotation, to figure out what's going on. And you'll see them make some strides this season. That's what I think.
Also, look, Alex Jensen's never been a head coach, let alone in college. So you got to give him time to figure things out as well.
While we're talking about basketball, let's shift over to this. This news came down yesterday. Kennard Davis Jr. was arrested on suspicion of DUI last night. The number 7th ranked BYU Cougars will be facing off against UConn tomorrow at TD Garden in Boston. This was a situation that happened in Provo, got into a car crash. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in that situation. Kennard Davis Jr. was taken to the Provo police station, later cited for DUI as well. So that's an unfortunate story coming out of Provo.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the 30,000-foot view on this, I think it'll be interesting to see over time how BYU, the administration, responds to stuff like this. Because the guys they're bringing in are not your typical LDS athletes that have always come to BYU, and so you're going to have more of this. You had Jake Retzloff, that situation. I'm not comparing the two in terms of severity, but yeah, that you have this, and what it is it's bad publicity for BYU, and what they will tell you. The whole point they play athletics is for exposure for the LDS church. So that's what I'm kind of interested to see going forward, how they handle that.
Yeah, there is precedent for how they've handled this in the past. Other former athletes at BYU have gotten into trouble in this similar way. They've been dismissed from that specific team, and then after that season have been allowed to come back to rejoin the team afterwards.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that is the similar thing here, or if it's a heavier punishment, lesser punishment. We'll see how this all folds out.
I think the difference now is I think this will happen more often than it has in the past. Just based on how much money you're paying guys and who you're bringing in who aren't familiar with BYU. So that's kind of an interesting thing to look for.
Yeah, it's something to monitor. We mentioned BYU on the road in Boston taking on a UConn team tomorrow. That's an interesting matchup for sure. Do you think BYU has a chance to beat this UConn team? Or the distractions now a little bit too much for this team?
No, I mean, they have good talent on the floor. They have definitely a chance to beat them. I don't know how great Connecticut is, but yeah, I mean, BYU has the athletes to beat anybody.
All right.
This is a starter they're losing in Davis. So that's something to consider here is like he may not be a star, but he's a very key rotation player, part of your starting five. So it may not just be a distraction that's a problem here. They could be losing a really important player. He's
also fighting an injury and did not play against Delaware as well. So I don't know if he was going to play against UConn or if they sat him out just to – I don't know what that situation was as well. So I don't know if he was going to be available even to play tomorrow because he didn't play against Delaware as well. So that's something to monitor.
And depending what details come out, I think you're right. He could very well be done for the year. So that it'll be interesting on the basketball court how they fill that hole.
Yes, it will. Let's shift over to this story where 14 people were arrested in a nationwide gambling ring backed by the mafia. Joseph Little Joe Perna, a member of the – you're going to have to probably help me with this one. Lucchesi crime family? Mm-hmm. Okay. Lucchesi crime family.
I've heard
Lucchesi?
I've heard Lucchesi. I've heard
Lucchesi.
It depends on the – yeah.
Thank you, Jordan Bianucci, for helping me out there. The family directed several college athletes to operate illegal sports books nationwide. This was also a tie-in to the Rutgers wrestling team as well.
I knew it. I knew. As soon as I saw
a lot of former
headline,
Rutgers wrestling. It has exactly been 0 days since the largest sports gambling problem that we've had here.
Shocker, this happened in Jersey. I think we're all just floored by that.
Retick that counter. If anybody keeping track at home, we're back to 0 days since the last sports betting incident.
Right. Paulie Walnut's running this one.
So that's a story that's coming out right now.
How about Little Joe Perna?
Little Joe.
Yeah, Joseph Little Joe Perna.
On our show, this is when I would hit the Godfather soundtrack be playing behind this segment. It's almost, if it wasn't so serious, like with the integrity of sports, it would be hilarious.
Well, it just makes you think, now that they're cracking down really hard on all of this, how long has this been going on, Jordan?
Yeah. It's been going on for a long, and guess what? You can crack down as hard as you want. It's going to keep happening. It's just...
Well, and to the point you made about the Kennard Davis story, at what point is this, even though it's a good thing that you're able to catch these things and punish and make the necessary punishments, arrests, whatever, suspensions, whatever it might be, at what point is the bad publicity too high a cost?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's not. It's the publicity, because you're right. Because once we stop believing that the games are on the up and up, there's zero reason to watch the games anymore.
Turns into, well, I mean, a lot of people watch WWE wrestling, Jordan.
Yeah. So the fans if you like wrestling and you want name the sport to be scripted like wrestling, enjoy it. But that's not why I watch sports. So,
It's a dangerous path to be sliding down. That's why they're trying to crack down on this. That's why just the other day you saw the NFL try and get out in front of a lot of this as well, saying that they're cracking down on prop bets and they're limiting what action sports bets can take, at least legal sports books around the country, in terms of prop bets and eliminating a lot of other prop bets and different things like that as well. So this will be an interesting story to follow with the sports gambling probes that are currently going on. All right, one final thing. Quinn Snyder, just the other day, of course, his Atlanta Hawks back here in the state of Utah to take on the Jazz. He said that Alex Jensen was a no-brainer hire for the Runnin' Utes. This is what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that one to me is a no-brainer. I could give you a long list. I think first, Alex was someone that you could always rely on, to in multiple situations, whether it be with a game plan, more specific basketball role, dealing with the player. I think that is one of his many strengths, is his ability to communicate with players. He did that for years across, all different players. He even though he wasn't a guard, he could still figure out how to talk to the guards, and he's someone that you would want. You'd feel good about Alex leading a group that your son was a part of, and the obvious is that his passion for the university and the community, and sometimes you don't see all of his emotion. You probably will more now, but he's incredibly competitive, and I think that's a must. I'm excited for him.
That's former Jazz head coach Quinn Snyder, current Atlanta Hawks head man as well, on Alex Jensen as a no-brainer hire for the running Utes. All right, coming up next, Lee Sterling joins us from Paramount Sports. We're going to talk some more college football as we wrap up the second hour of the Sean O'Connell Show right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, getting ready to wrap up the 12 o'clock hour back here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. We're filling in. Get a Friday edition of Bryce and Bianucci here on the Sean O'Connell Show. And you can join us over every weekday morning on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan for more of our insight across the sporting world every single weekday. Let's jump out to the ESPN hotline and welcome in Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports to talk a little college football, to send you into your college football weekend. Lee, glad to be chatting with you here again, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain. Another week, big week for all our teams in state. Hurricanes here in Miami and Utah, and also BYU, and even a big game for Utah State, who looking to break through on the road finally.
Yeah, no kidding. That is going to be a big one for them as they try to get bowl eligible. Let's start here, shall we? USC and Iowa. USC's a 6.5-point favorite over Iowa at this moment in time. Where are you going with this game, and what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, so weather. You got to factor weather, and we're seeing 100% chance of rain, which is crazy for LA. Looks like it's going to rain for maybe 2-3 days straight. So most people say, oh, well, the USC's a throwing team. This would definitely favor Iowa. They're used to bad weather, but USC can run the football this year. Two running backs, King Miller and Wayman Jordan. These two guys have combined for over 1,200 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, 7.9 yards per carry for Miller, and 6.5 for Jordan. And what defines and makes them different than last USC teams last couple of years is they play defense. Last year, only 21 sacks on the entire year. This year, they're averaging almost 3 per game. They're averaging 1 interception per game. And where's Iowa's head? After losing that game last week, all their dreams are crushed. And if USC can run the table, they're going to be, it looks like, about over a 95% chance they'll be in the college football playoff. And they play really well at home, 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread at home this year. So, except for that 175-yard bomb by Michigan State with less than 3 minutes to go in that game, they've been perfect at home here, even with the rain. I think sometimes you got to lay it if you want to play it. USC 28-17 over the Hawkeyes.
Well, Lee, let's shift over to these in-state games. Utah State heads down to Vegas to take on UNLV. The Rebels a 6-point favorite. What are you seeing here?
So they've been so good at home. You don't want to go against them developing, a home field advantage here, but on the road, it's been horrible. 0-4 straight up, 133rd in points allowed, 129th in yards per play. This is out of 136 teams. And those 4 losses have allowed a total of 176 points. UNLV, 9th best in the country in yards per play at home, behind, I think, an elite line and running offense here. On the road, Utah State this year has allowed an average of 200 yards per game here, and I just don't think it's going to be good enough. They get some better recruits and some transfers. Defense could end up being good. That's always been Bronco Mendenhall's calling card, but not yet here. UNLV 44-30.
All right, Lee, I've got an ongoing theory that the reason why we're not seeing any of these college football games for the Big 12 next week, having been announced in certain TV times, is because the TV executives have a feeling that there's going to be chaos in the Big 12 this coming weekend. One of those teams that might be a little bit hesitant is BYU, just 4.5-point favorites at home against a TCU team led by Josh Hoover and company. What are you feeling about BYU? Are they on upset alert this weekend?
So I think the reason that BYU was dropped was not just that they lost on the road to a good team, is that they really weren't in the game. Did not play well at all. They just couldn't get anything going. Maybe they should have gone to hurry up, tried something different, but just couldn't shake it. Now they got to come back, and they hadn't been tested a whole lot before their big game against Texas Tech by a good defense. They certainly failed that one. But as for TCU, they allowed 2 touchdowns in a 2-minute span, one being a 79-yard punt return to give Iowa State the lead in that game. I think that TCU is just one of these teams, they play better as an underdog. Just the mentality of their kids that they recruit, and Hoover. I think BYU is going to win this game 30-27, but 4.5, 5 points. I think you take TCU. I think this is a one-possession game.
Lee, when it comes to Utah heading down to Waco, it sure seems like on paper that the Utes have a lot of advantages in this one. Is that how you're seeing this one, or no?
Well, on paper they do, yeah, obviously, and falling short to BYU hurt their playoff chances. I think if they run the table, they're going to find a way in. There, too many things are going to happen. Too many teams are going to have pressure, and they're going to fold. Obviously, they can't lose anymore after back-to-back games, allowing 40-plus points. Baylor, I mean, surprisingly held Central Florida to 3 last game out. Had some great schemes. They were playing with emotion. I thought they should have been playing with a long time ago. Utah's D, top 20, ton of categories. I think they're capable of slowing Baylor down here. Sawyer Robinson's good, quality quarterback. Their defense isn't here. So I think they'll hit on a lot of big plays. And once Baylor falls behind, that's when they usually start falling apart here. I'm going to lay the 8.5 here. I have Utah winning 35-21.
All right, Lee. Jordan and I are very familiar with the L.A. Rams because the station we talk on is the home of the L.A. Rams right here in the state of Utah. Matthew Stafford currently in MVP conversations. In fact, in my opinion, probably should be the front runner for the MVP in the National Football League at this moment in time. The Rams taking on the Seahawks in a massive divisional battle. They're a 3-point favorite. Where are you headed with the Rams and Seahawks this weekend?
Here's what's crazy. I mean, you can make an argument here for Stafford, who's thrown, I think it's something like 13 through 3 games, 13-0 ratio, touchdowns, interceptions. Sam Darnold has a 9.9 yards per pass attempt average this year. It's 1 yard better than number 2, which is Drake May, 8.9 yards per pass attempt. You can make a case for either one of the guys, maybe even Taylor at Indianapolis or Smith and Jibba at Seattle. So it doesn't have to be a quarterback, in my opinion, here. I think the defense right now for the Seattle Seahawks, they can get a couple guys back for this game. They got a shot here. They've covered 4 straight road games this year, seem to be road warriors here. And unless the Rams defense does to Darnold what it did to him in that wild card game, I think Seattle's the right side here. So they get pressure on the quarterback. They only 3 sacks has the Rams given up here in the last 3 games, whereas Seattle 30 sacks so far, 32 in 9 games. Wrong team favored. Seahawks with the upset, 30-26.
All right, Lee, your game of the week. The Chiefs, a 3.5-point favorite in Denver against the Broncos, who've won 7 in a row. What are you seeing here?
Yep, big game here. I mean, NFL card is incredible this week. Not just this game, Philly and Detroit, got Buffalo and Tampa Bay. So you want to get this Chiefs and Broncos game, I think I've got the right side. Just call 800-400-9741. First 5 callers get it for free. Got a couple specials going on in football. We have what's called Lee's NFL Sunday Golden Ticket. 5 selections every single Sunday for 4 weeks. We're on a 31-9 run now. Seems like every week we're going 4-1 or 5-0. 31-9 run, 4 weeks, 5 selections every week, $197. Or you want to get every single selection through the end of the month, college football and NFL, on our executive phone service where we rate the games from 10 to 50 units, just $297. Use coupon code SAVE200. Just one place, ParamountSports.com.
There you have it, Lee. Thanks so much for your time, and we appreciate you jumping on with us. Enjoy your loaded weekend, okay?
You too, guys. Take care. Be safe.
All right. That is Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. Always appreciate him joining us on a Friday edition of the Sean O'Connell Show. I don't know if I agree with the Rams play there, Jordan. Seahawks, Rams?
I like the Seahawks. I'll tell you what, we picked earlier on our show. What did I say about USC playing in the rain, my friend?
That's going to be a torrential downpour.
SC. I took SC at home in the Never Rains in Southern California. Looks like Albert Hammond was wrong.
I told all the people here on ESPN 700 that Iowa was going to beat Oregon. Look how close I was.
That's true.
I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down because I didn't think anybody thought I was going to beat Oregon, and they didn't. They lost on it. And you know what?
So your point is that you were wrong.
The haters all said.
Good point.
The haters all said that they couldn't do it. Well,
and they couldn't.
Good call by the haters.
Hey, Herbie was on your side.
Did
you catch Herbie? Herbie went on McAfee last Thursday, about a week ago, and said I was going to win. And then McAfee on game day was like, well, I was with you, and then you gave them bulletin board material,
Well.
Dan Lanning, and then anyway. So Herbie, and here's the thing about that too. Herbie was like, "This is a dark game, weather." He's
Rain.
like, it's gonna be 15-13, 2 minutes to play, and Iowa's gonna go down and kick a game-winning field goal.
That's what I said too.
They almost did that exact score. They went up 16-15 with about 2 minutes to play. That was Herbie's final score prediction, and then unfortunately they gave too much time for Dante Moore to go and put him in position for that field goal. So that I was watching that closely. I'm like, so that's easy to predict it that way because that's how every Iowa game goes. Yeah, but it was still like, no way it's going to be 15-13, 2 minutes left. It wasn't quite that, but it was really close.
So let the world know that on Monday morning I will be taking victory laps over on Bryson Bianucci when Iowa beats USC. In torrential downpour, in the worst weather you've ever seen. Apparently there's some crazy weather going on in Los Angeles right now for the next 3 days.
Which means it's raining to the people in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
crazy out here.
Iowa's going to win. I've got Iowa knocking off USC this weekend.
All right.
So we'll see if that is the case or not. All right. This is the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll head into hour number 3 next. Coming up next, it is the Coordinator's Corner with Jason Beck. Sean O'Connell caught up with Jason Beck, your offensive coordinator of this Utah football team. You'll hear that next right here on the Sean O'Connell Show, Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
Coordinator's Corner time here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We have the pleasure of checking in with the man calling the offensive plays at the University of Utah, Jason Beck, offensive coordinator, brought to you by our friends over at America First Credit Union. Coach Beck, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Good to be on with you.
Always enjoy these conversations. Been looking forward to it now for a couple of weeks. You guys obviously coming off the bye week. What did you do to maximize this bye week?
You know, we with the point of the season we're at, we were able to get a jump start on Baylor and get some extra practices in with them, but also be able to rest up and get guys healthy who have been banged up. So it's kind of those two things: get as fresh as possible, but also take advantage of the extra time to be as prepared as possible.
It might feel like a distant memory because of how much work you have to put in on Baylor, but I hope you'll indulge me with some conversation about the Cincinnati win. Big win, demolition by your team. It felt like the Utes performed well in all three phases. Your offense incredibly productive. The run game, once again, just dominating the line of scrimmage, big chunk plays, consistent yardage. And Wayshawn Parker, Kyle Whittingham said, has kind of emerged, separated himself a little bit from the pack. If you go all the way back to, week one or the first time we had this conversation, is that something you thought might happen with one of your running backs when you got to this juncture in the season?
Like you said, it does. The last few weeks, he's kind of started to separate, where early on it was much more interchangeable between him and Nakari and the other running backs. But, yeah, it feels like Wayshawn's just been getting stronger as the year's going on and is really doing a nice job. So we're always in that mindset, in that mode of ride the hot hand. If somebody's playing really well, just kind of get him more work, more touches. And he's been doing that the last few weeks, and it's been great to see for our offense.
Also, I mean, we already had plenty of conversation about the Colorado game and the dominant run performance there, but then to see it continue against the Cincinnati team that, let's be honest, is just they're a lot tougher out. They were a higher ranked team. They've had a lot more success this year than the Buffaloes have had, and so to see your offensive line really dominate the line of scrimmage in this game as well. I mean, it's what we talked about all year, the capability of this group in particular. And it seemed like they're really firing on all cylinders. Now, you would hope that's the case, and lucky enough, they're mostly healthy. We'll get to that here in just a second. But when you watch the film back, how did your offensive line perform in this Cincinnati game?
Yeah, they've really set the tone for our offense, both in how well they're playing, how physical they're playing, but also how consistently and high-performing they are. It's not week to week, you're not quite sure what you're going to get, which is kind of the case with some groups or some players. Man, the O-line, they kind of show up every week and are consistently high performers and set the tone for our offense up front. And so, we just continuing to follow those guys, both leading through their play, but also they're that way in practice. They show up every day, they work hard, and they set the tone from a leadership standpoint.
We saw against Cincinnati, Spencer Fano temporarily a little bit banged up, went into the tent on the sideline, and there were. I mean, I was sitting in the stands for this game, and there were, there's like this nervous murmur that rolls through watching him kind of being helped to the sideline by his teammates, but he ended up finishing the game, so no harm, no foul, I suppose. When you become aware of the fact that a guy like that, a guy of that importance and that talent, is limping off the field, but you still have to, call the next play, how do you handle it?
Right, like you said, you kind of hold your breath there for a sec. You obviously got to move on and adjust and go from there. But fortunately, he was able to. It was minor, he was able to keep playing, and also fortunately, we were able to build a nice fourth quarter lead where we could pull the 1-0 line. and then timed out nice with the bye week to be able to give him some extra days to get healing up and fresher for this Baylor run. But he's kind of battled a few things throughout the season, and you wouldn't know because he's handled it so well, and shows up and plays each Saturday at such a high level.
I want to bite down on that here for a second because there is this sort of sentiment in the modernization of college football. All of us old timers are like, oh, they're not as tough as they used to be, and everyone rests now, and it's obviously prevalent in pro sports and things like that. But it's an ignorance-based opinion in most cases. Like, we don't realize how much guys are playing through, and the injury report is supposed to give a little bit more insight to that. But if these guys are, like you're saying, if they're just showing up and doing it anyway, there's no reason for them to be on an injury report. So we've seen this Utah football team in past seasons be really snake bit with the injury situation. But your guys this year and a lot of guys this year seem like even when the bumps and bruises are accumulating, they're just performing through it. And I guess the question is, how common has that been this year where you know a guy's not 100%, but he's just going to bite down on the mouthpiece and go anyway?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the case. Guys are playing with, they're getting it out through practice in the course of the week to get ready, and they're playing on Saturdays not being at their best. And so that's more guys than not, more guys than not are in that situation of like have something really hampering them, but they're playing through it. We've had a few guys we've lost for the season, which is the part of every year. And it's been hard, you kind of move on to the next guy and try to adapt to what that looks like. But for the most part, we've been fortunate that we've had a lot of our best players playing every week.
Jason Beck is our guest here for Coordinator's Corner on the Sean O'Connell Show, brought to you by America First Credit Union. Calling plays for this Utah offense that put up 45 points last time out, and of course 50-plus against the Colorado Buffaloes, scoring at a really high clip, Coach, and doing so on the backs of guys that, at least in a couple cases, really well. Devin Dampier, there was this pretty overblown conversation rippling through some of the fan base when Bird Ficklin had such a great game. What does this mean? Is there a choice to be made here? Is Devin at 100% or 85% or 80%? He comes out against Cincinnati and, in my opinion, shows why he's QB1. All respect to Bird, who I think is talented and amazing and has an incredible future. But I thought this was an important game for Devin Dampier, who I'm sure still wasn't 100%, to come out and perform and make big plays. How did he grade out against Cincinnati, and what was it like, making the call leading up to the game to make sure he's ready to go?
Yeah, Devin, like you said, Bird, we really love everything he's doing and his ability and a bright future that we're really excited about. But Devin, the point he's at, he just makes great decisions at such a really high rate in the run game, in the pass game, with everything we ask him to do. And so it's kind of an ideal situation for us and for Bird to be able to be developing and to be learning from Dev, who's playing at such a high level. And that's the best thing you could do for a young quarterback, is to watch a guy really operate and play at a high level and just try to learn all that information, all that knowledge. So when it's your turn and your opportunity, you're able to kind of do your thing. But you're learning by watching it done really well versus learning when it's not being done well, or in a much harder environment. And so, no, it's great having Dev back. We're kind of able to do everything with Dev because he's just makes such great decisions, the throw game, the run game, and all the different kind of options and decisions we put into his lap to lead the offense.
I asked Devin this, and I wanted to get your perspective on it because obviously you coached the position, you played the position, and the sexy thing in college football and in all levels of football that a quarterback can do, when you throw that perfect tight spiral deep ball that you drop in the bucket, stadium goes crazy. And from a grander perspective, it's like, oh yeah, you can take the top off of defense. These are the chunk plays that we've been asking for all year. We saw a couple of really, really great, what I would consider deep throws against Cincinnati. And then we also see where it looks like maybe the ball dies a little bit, or maybe the timing on the throw is a little bit off. So a receiver has to slow down or has to come back to it. And like I said, I asked Dev about it, and he said, well, sometimes when it's, like a big body guy, like a J.J. Buchanan, maybe you want it to be more of a jump ball. Maybe you're trying to get a pass interference call. It would appear that throwing the deep ball is still something that could be a little bit more consistent. How can that happen in these final 3 games for Devin? Is it a timing thing? Is it an arm strength thing? Again, I'm getting real nitpicky here, but as everything else is going really, really well, is that something that, well, of course it is something that can improve. How can it improve?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be able to have that element because you'd love to be great at everything, and it's quite a few factors. It's both being able to get open, and then if they're open, the protection being good to allow the QB to make that throw, and then the QB making that throw. And so it takes all those things coming together. And, when you look at the deep throws, when you're throwing the ball down the field, if you're able to be 30%, that's actually pretty good in college football. You don't count on those deep shots being 50% hits. And so that's been a weakness of our offense. At times we make some strides and had some good plays in the games. And then at times, we're just missing them. And in each one, one time we had kind of a couple we had a receiver do the wrong thing. So we got 2 guys in a not a good spot.
Yeah.
In a time we could have thrown a better ball. And then in a time we had a protection issue. So a defender's getting up and getting a hit on the quarterback as we're throwing that thing. So, it's a little bit of all those things coming together. But we got to continue to take our shots when we can, and continue to try to get better at that, and make progress, because it would sure help. The more you can do that, man, it just really opens up the offense for everything else.
Did you know Ryan Davis could be this level of a producer at the Power 4 level? I mean, I assume you had some inkling, or he wouldn't be here with you. But he's not just like the Utah leading receiver. He's in the top 10 in the conference right now.
Absolutely. I felt really confident RD would come in and be the player that you see. Really reliable, consistent, get open versus whatever the coverage is and make plays. I did not envision him being our number 1 guy. I would have envisioned him being more a part of, your receiving core, and he's doing his job at a really high level. But you're also, hoping there's 2-3 other guys doing their job at a really high level too. The way it's worked out, he's just become more of a primary guy, and thankfully, we've been able to count on him, and he's come through at a really high level. So that part doesn't surprise me. I just would have thought maybe there's another guy or 2 that's in that same boat that would be getting some of those catches as well. And instead, it's just meant more go to RD, because he's coming through at a really high level and getting the job done at a really high level, that nobody else has kind of emerged, to do that as well.
I know that winning the game is the most important thing, and it became pretty apparent, by the third quarter, that your Utes were going to win this game. When you get to that level, is there a situation where you're like, all right, I want to get this guy into the end zone. I want to get this particular guy who's been really showing out at practice or has had a rough road to here. I want to get this guy involved. And I'm thinking of Creed Whittemore specifically here, because, Coach Witt mentioned in the press conference that, hey, this guy – we thought it was going to be a bigger impact earlier in the season. He's been battling some stuff, but he got in the end zone. his teammates were blowing up on the sideline. I mean, it felt like it was like a win, not only for him personally, but kind of for everyone that he got out there. And I know he's not the only one, but he's the example I'm using right now.
Yeah, no, you'd love because you love that for Creed because he's a great kid. He works hard every day, and you can tell by the reaction of his teammates how much he's liked and respected. And I envision Creed being able to take over that RD role, going forward with the type of player he is. And so, like Bird, learning from Dev at a high level, that same type of thing is going on with Creed, learning from RD. And when those opportunities come, man, he made the most of them and broke a bunch of tackles and scored, and it was awesome to see. And like you said, there's a few things he's been working on improving, and he's gotten a lot better at those things, and hopefully we continue to make strides that way. Because one thing you kind of don't realize with RD, you see the production catching the ball, is he's doing that same type of thing in the run game. Like he does a lot of that perimeter blocking that's letting RD and letting Wayshawn and Bray have a lot of the runs that they're having. So he's just as valuable in run blocking as he is in everything he's doing catching the ball.
No block, no rock. Is that something that you tell your wide receivers, Coach?
That is, I've never said that, but I definitely have heard the wide receiver coach say that quite a bit. So that's definitely a Coach Simon saying.
All right, I've been asking you to look backward to the Cincinnati game and what's happened to this point. Let's talk about moving forward. 3 games left in the season, coming off a bye week in a really good spot, and a Baylor matchup that this is a bipolar team. When you watch what Baylor is capable of, the best version of them can beat anyone in this league. The worst version of them looks like they belong in the FCS. So I don't know which you're going to get, but what are you seeing on tape from the Baylor Bears?
No, they're a really good defense. I mean, when you put the tape on, every guy looks like a really good Big 12 player. I mean, they have size, they have length, they have athleticism. Up front, they're really strong and stout. The backers can really move and cover ground and are athletic, and the secondary guys are really good cover guys. So they're a really good unit. Like you said, when you watch the tape, they can beat anybody any week. But they've been up and down, and they've lost to some good teams. So we got to be ready to play our A game because it's they have good players, they have sound scheme and structure, and you got to earn everything you get against them.
How well do you know Dave Aranda? I mean, he was here in Utah for a while, obviously, and there's a lot of connections, coaching staff to coaching staff. How well do you know Coach Aranda?
I don't know him well at all. Quite a few of the defensive guys I've worked with over the years I know close to him because they're in that same tree and scheme and those things. So I know of them, but I don't know them well at all.
We have 2 sets of college football playoff rankings right now. And I know you're focused on the game by game and the week by week, but you also can't ignore what's happening in the landscape of college football. And the committee so far has shown a lot of respect to the Big 12 Conference and specifically a lot of respect to Utah. Right now ranked 13th for the second straight week, kind of right on the outside of that playoff picture looking in. It feels like as difficult a path as there is to the conference championship game, there still might be a path in some scenarios to the college football playoff. I know what the players are supposed to think about it and say about it. How do you as a coaching staff process this?
No, I mean, it's when you look at it, it's a great spot, and we just got to take care of business. And obviously, the next game is the most important game. But it's exciting because doors and opportunities are open and there, and we just got to take care of business and approach each game that way.
You're 75% through your first season as the offensive coordinator at the University of Utah? Has it gone faster, slower, kind of how you thought it was going to go? I mean, I'm asking you to be reflective when that's not exactly the job for a college football coach, but you're 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's and every season's a little bit this way. In some ways, you're shocked you're going on game 10. Like, it's just flown by that fast. And then in other ways, it's like UCLA seems like it was 2 years ago. So it's both. It's flown by, and it's like a lot has happened in the course of these, going into game 10. So you kind of felt both extremes of that.
Do you feel like your offense is still growing, developing, you're able to add things? Or is it more like, hey, we're in a groove, everyone knows the playbook, everyone knows the meat and the potatoes, and that's what's going to win us these games?
A little bit of both. I mean, I think our identity has totally emerged of who we are, where we're at. But that's been a process. That has not been just clear from day one. That's just taken time through the season. And as anything changes, that continues to adapt. And of course, you're always aware of what you're doing and how teams are defending you and what you're putting on tape to have complementary answers to. But, your identity has taken shape. And so it's a matter of really leaning into that and making that better and better and better as we go versus trying to do some other totally different, thing. Our identities emerged, and it's a matter of making that sharper, more focused, and performing better.
This will be the last thing before I let you go. How close is that identity to what you thought it was going to be when you took this job, when you first started to meet your players and the other coaches on your staff? Is this how you thought it would look when that identity took shape?
Not exactly. I mean, it definitely emerged through the process of how guys are playing and what you can count on and all of that. So it's definitely emerged. Big picture wise, you knew the O-line was the strength. You knew Devin and the really good player he is. So from that standpoint, no one would be a good running team is not a surprise. But all the other things of how it's played out, that just unfolds as you're going through the process, and it happens. But so yeah, a little bit of both with that.
Coach, we'll turn you loose. I always appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be on with you.
Jason Beck, offensive coordinator at the University of Utah, little Coordinator's Corner on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Well, it's a Friday, and you know what that means. The airing of grievances. 877-353-0700. Coordinator's Corner brought to you by America First Credit Union. Airing of grievances brought to you by, well, you. Tell us what's on your mind. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
All right, welcome back into the Sean O'Connell Show. Going to get into the airing of grievances coming up here in just a couple of minutes. It is a Friday on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Bryce Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. You just heard Sean's conversation with offensive coordinator Jason Beck, and now we'll get into the airing of grievances coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Do want to remind you.
That's my bad, guys. I missed the old clip here, the Seinfeld clip. Here we go. All right, now it's official. We are into the segment now.
That's what I was waiting for.
Tell you what my grievance is. We didn't get that rejoin in.
So we'll start here with the airing of grievances. And by the way, you can hit the text-in line at 877-353-0700. Give us your grievances, and they will be read live on air here on the Sean O'Connell Show coming up in just a little bit. I do have a grievance to air, and I told Jordan this earlier on our program, and any of the listeners that may cross over and listen to us from 7 to 10 a.m. on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan, weekday mornings. I have a grievance with a national college basketball writer named Jeff Goodman.
Yeah, you do.
Because the other day he tweeted out that, no offense to these 4 schools, but these are not the schools that should be headlining college basketball on a Wednesday night with no football on. And guess what? It was North Texas and Oregon State. Now, you might be laughing in your car because you're like, well, why the heck would I want to watch North Texas and Oregon State? Well, I'll tell you why, Jordan. You laugh at me over there. The reason being, the ending of that basketball game was one of the wackiest college basketball endings we will see all season long. There was a Chris Webber that happened. The poor North Texas kid took the ball across half court, called a timeout. They didn't have any timeouts.
Oh, no.
It was a tie ball game, just 5 seconds left.
Oh, no.
Oregon State knocked down the 2 technical free throws and went home with the win. That's unfortunate. Wacky finish, but here we have a national college basketball writer who is saying the only games in college basketball that matter are the ones with the top names in college basketball. Duke, North Carolina, UConn. Those are the only games that matter. This is a dude that professes to cover, quote unquote, every single level of college basketball. Well, I disagree, Mr. Goodman. The only thing that ruins college basketball and people wanting to watch it is you talking bad about how bad those games are when there's good games in college basketball every single night. That's my grievance today.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to sell the game, sell the game. Like you said, they're good finishes. I mean, most people, you're right, not a ton of people into it, but from a college basketball writer, I get what he's saying. I get the point, but it is a little tone deaf.
It is. I'll leave it to I'll open it up here for more grievances. James, you got a grievance here for us today?
I do. So you guys all heard of the old Sam Heward fake punt trick play?
Yeah.
So just to explain it again, all right, we've gone over a few times on the Sean O'Connell Show this week, but for anyone who missed it, against Northwestern last weekend, was it a Friday night? So a week ago, Sam Heward, former Utah quarterback, shout out. He is listed as 80 in the game program, properly done before the game by Lincoln Riley and USC, same number as their punter, so they could run this fake punt with the quarterback out there instead of their punter, right? Now, they didn't get penalized for it during the game. The Northwestern coach said, yeah, they shouldn't be penalized for it because he's thinking of that first layer of the rule, which is they have to give you notice. It has to be on the game day program, right?
Okay.
That the number. But what the Big Ten came out after the fact and said, hey, actually, this should have been a penalty after all because, yes, they did the right thing by putting it in the game day program, but you can't have the same player, someone wearing the same number as someone else playing the same position. So he lined up as the punter. That makes that play illegal, right? That's why, like Devin Dampier and Don Saunders for University of Utah, both number 4, right? You see that. You see an offensive and defensive player. Those guys never play the same position. You don't see Devin Dampier lining up his corner. If he did, that'd be illegal. Don Saunders is a Wildcat package as quarterback. That's an illegal play, right? As number 4. My grievance is, why are we still letting multiple players have the same number? Like, just stop it.
Do you want some higher numbers? What's your explanation here? There's enough numbers that you don't need everybody to wear the same numbers?
See the NFL. The NFL never has this problem. I mean, they have more players on the college rosters than they do on NFL rosters. I guess that's how they do it. But it's just like, can we not with the same number here? Like, maybe you're right. Maybe there's too many players on the roster.
No, honestly, you could trot out there with 110 on.
I mean, how about do they do the 00 thing like they do in basketball? Can we have 0-4? Like if you want it, can we have 0 whatever? Like that's ridiculous, but that's not near as ridiculous as 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, 2 number 12s, 2 number 80s. Like this should. I said it before. Hats off to Lincoln Riley for trying this sort of thing by using this system to his advantage, but it's a stupid system. Like just like let's have one player per number, okay? That's what the numbers are for, to help you identify who the players are, by the way.
But related to this, by the way, I don't like Bayer Bachmeier wearing 47 playing quarterback. I have no.
Speaking of the NFL, they outlawed certain numbers for positions.
Yes.
They still do, right? They've just expanded them over the years.
Yeah,
right?
And they've just kind of relaxed it a little recently.
Yeah.
I have no logical, legitimate argument for this. It's just the way I feel. It looks.
Just don't like it.
I don't like it. It looks weird. It annoys me, and like I don't know why. It just That's all. That's my related. I have nothing to back that up except the way it makes me feel.
Is the NFL quarterbacks can be single digits up to, it has to be under 20,
under
right?
20, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can go through them like there's
Scott Mitchell was 19, famously.
Johnny Unitas, 19. Yeah, so they
little more famously.
Stafford 20?
No. Stafford's
6?
9?
7? Oh.
Yeah, he's number 9. That's
9.
right. I was going to say I'm not thinking of it now, but it's the Drew Brees, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, number 9.
Number 9. Jim McMahon, number 9.
Jim McMahon.
I don't pay attention to people's numbers. That's weird. Like I don't think of Jim McMahon as number 9. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you people's numbers.
I'm going to test you on this one.
Yeah, I won't be able to tell you. I'm going to sound like an idiot.
Brett
really
Favre.
Yeah, Brett Favre.
100%. I will not.
Brett
Favre, number 3.
Oh my gosh!
This is you don't. Holy.
I don't
grievance
associate
against Bryce.
Here we go. I don't associate Brett Favre to his jersey number.
I understand that with like baseball.
The only 2 I can tell you is Matt Ryan and Michael Vick. That's because I'm a Falcons fan.
That's insane. What about who's a great quarterback?
Matt Ryan. Oh, come on!
You guys got to stop. Is it 13?
Oh,
it's close.
Close.
18.
It's in the
18.
teens.
See,
just close those 3s and you got it.
Close.
Tom Brady, you really don't know?
12. Okay.
Okay.
I know Tom Brady's.
You know the Patrick Mahomes. Oh my gosh!
I actually don't know Patrick Mahomes'
You know what's
number.
funny is I'm totally
because I don't pay attention to people's numbers.
so
Why do I need to
interesting.
pay attention to their number? I'm not calling the game.
Josh Allen.
I probably know college players' numbers better because I've called college games before. But I don't call the game, so I don't pay attention to their numbers.
I'm with you when I'm watching like
Michael Jordan. No,
I've watched the NFL on TV. I can see the dude's face on the camera. I know who that is.
No, you can't. They're wearing helmets
On the 4K camera, yeah, I can see his face.
All right.
In football, in baseball, I get it. Like because I don't, unless they're a famous player, I don't. It doesn't ring a bell with me either with baseball. But with football, the numbers are so big, and it's like all you see, unless it's a close up of their face. That does.
I feel like I know the other position, the numbers for players that are non-quarterbacks. I don't know them near as well as I know for quarterbacks.
I agree.
That's fair, but yeah, wow.
What about
I
basketball?
cannot. I didn't know there was a big a sports fan and someone who worked in sports media that
doesn't know jersey numbers.
Some of these jersey numbers, like Mahomes is 15 and Josh Allen's 17. Yeah.
There's no reason for me to know NFL players' jersey numbers. Name a good reason as me as a sports media person to know his jersey number.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just I'm amazed that you watch that many games and that's not something that
it doesn't connect to me because that's not what I'm paying attention.
What is Matt Ryan's number? I'm having trouble remembering.
It's number 2.
That's right. Okay.
Do you know like old Jazz players? Like what's
Karl Malone?
You know Karl Malone's number?
No.
Oh my gosh.
John Stockton?
Nope. Couldn't tell you.
That's incredible.
I don't even know if it's
There's
a single or a double digit.
There's a
about-
commercial that references a car dealer that has Stockton's number on
But
it.
you loved Jordan Clarkson. What was Jordan?
I
Clarkson's
did love
number?
Jordan Clarkson. Couldn't tell you
It
his
was
number.
I got
Is it 30 something?
Oh my
Is he in
gosh.
the 30s?
I got a hint for you. It's the same number as Greg Ostertag.
Well, couldn't tell you that either.
Well, one of Ostertag's numbers.
I don't-
anyway.
This is the one thing I've never spent time actually like looking at and like memorizing
This is
people's
wild.
numbers.
Jordan, did you? This is
This
this is
one
an
of the-
amazing discovery.
Yeah.
Let me know if there's any other sports fans
You're
out
gonna
there
have
that
to-
are similar to me.
You're gonna have to integrate
like to
this
know
into
that.
Bryson Bianucci.
Th-
somehow.
no kid. This is seriously. Text us. Is there anyone else that has a big, huge sports fan that it's okay if you don't know all of them, but
Yeah.
like super famous guys that you like?
There's probably only I'd get lucky if I could name 5 famous guys and their
Wow.
jersey numbers.
Besides your
Tom
because
Brady
you
being one of them,
cause-
and the only reason why is because he's got his like TB12 workout
That's-
thing.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I
Yeah.
know his
so
number.
you know brands. Let's see. Do you know Steph Curry's number?
Is it 30?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there you go.
That's impressive. How'd
Do you know LeBron James's number?
Yeah. Do you know LeBron's number?
Stop this, you guys.
You
are
really
so-
don't know
don't know.
LeBron's number?
He was 6 with the Miami Heat.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's one of his numbers.
But do you know Michael Jordan's number?
23.
Okay.
So I know. Yeah.
So you
so
know
there are a couple.
LeBron's number.
And then Kobe was
Kobe had
20
two of them.
24.
Yeah.
24 and 8.
8.
Eight is
you're
lesser
young.
known.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't remember.
8 is lesser known
Okay.
because it was only the first part of his career.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's cool.
I passed those numbers.
2 times 4 equals 8. Grievance from our text line. Handkerchief users, my gag reflex automatically kicks in whenever I see someone empty their nasal contents into a small cloth and then fold it up and put it back in their pocket. Nasty.
I'm gonna agree with you. on
That's a
that.
valid
Hey, I
grievance.
carry a handkerchief. You put it in the washing machine. It's not that big of a deal.
Oh, man. Grievance. Cal Raleigh should have won MVP. We'll have to get Jordan's thoughts on this.
Is the
Judge.
handkerchief in the room with us right now?
Oh, no.
Do I have the? No, you know the.
Time
the-
to wrap this show
yeah,
up right
no,
now.
I don't have. You know what the truth though is? It's a last resort. The handkerchief is a last. If
Okay.
you have a Kleenex, you
That's
use the
fair.
Kleenex.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
I think-
Judge, going back to this one, Raleigh should have won MVP. Judge was good. The only reason he won is because he's a Yankee. For me, that should be a demerit.
No,
I agree. Raleigh was probably the best defender in the sport this year, and he hit 60 homers. Seriously, people. Do you have any counterpoints there, Jordan, as our resident baseball expert?
Well, I do. But Bryce, I don't have a problem with Raleigh winning the MVP because what he did, like you said, is so
You mean Judge?
or
Judge won.
Judge won, but I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with that grievance in the sense that
Okay, gotcha.
in the sense that Raleigh, what he did was so spectacular as a catcher. But to say that Judge was the MVP just because he was a Yankee is insane. Aaron Judge's stats, he hit 331. Judge did. Raleigh hit 247. Judge had an 1145 OPS. Raleigh was 948. Judge scored 137 runs. I don't know how big of a deal. Raleigh 110. Judge had a higher WAR than Raleigh too. But
Here's the reason why.
Mhm.
It's because we have too many young voters in the Baseball Writers Association at this moment in time.
that's the first time anyone in the history has ever said we need more old baseball.
The older writers all voted. I can almost guarantee this. All voted for Cal Raleigh because of what he did on the defensive side. There's too many young analytical
Mhm.
writers in the Baseball Writers Association right
I
now.
agree.
Wow.
Yeah. I think
Wow,
it's
unexpected grievance from Bryce Larson.
No, I think that's a great. I think that's a great point. You're right. If two people, two writers had changed their votes, Raleigh would have been the MVP. I would have gone Judge by a hair, but what Raleigh did was so amazing. I have zero argument against him being the MVP.
Yeah, my only thing with Raleigh is I don't know how you can be MVP and you hit under 250. But the 60
hit 60
homers,
homers,
is
that's
what outweighs it. Triple digit RBI and the fact that he does it as a catcher. But the batting average is like a glaring thing for me. It's like, come on. But then you got to go, well, it's not that he's clearly not a bad hitter. He hits 60 out of the park.
Can you name the other? I know we got to go to break. Name the other 3 Yankees who have, I think, 3 MVPs now that same as Judge?
I can't name
Can you
dudes'
name
jersey
them- can you
numbers.
name
I
them?
don't think I can name those
Mantle, number 7. DiMaggio, number 5. And Berra, I'm blanking on Berra's number.
Oh, you don't know his jersey number?
No.
Wow.
Shame on you.
I'm an idiot.
All right.
You know, you want a real quick thing? You want to know why Babe Ruth was number 3?
Sure.
He's the first. They're the first guys to get numbers. He batted 3rd. That's why Gehrig was number 4 because he batted cleanup.
Yogi Berra,
Nice.
number 8.
Did I say Berra? I meant Gehrig. Oh, Berra was number 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
You meant Gehrig though as 3-time MVPs.
No. But Berra was a 3-time, but Gehrig batted cleanup, and that's why he was number 4.
Well, there you go. There's some more baseball knowledge heaped upon you on the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll
You
take
like it or
our
not?
final break of this program. We'll get into topical trivia. I think we're giving away a Baskin-Robbins cake that looks like a turkey. That's coming up next year on the Sean O'Connell Show. Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN, 792.1 FM. All right, wrapping up the Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday edition. This is your chance You can win a Baskin-Robbins ice cream cake. It is back in terms of this giveaway. This is your last chance to text us. Your score prediction for Utah versus Baylor, 877-353-0700. The closest to the actual final score with the right winning team is going to win an ice cream cake decorated and shaped to look exactly like a turkey from Baskin-Robbins. How about that?
Hey,
You ever had turkey cake?
That's what we're all looking for. I've never have had a turkey cake.
Neither have I. But it's up for grabs right now, 877-353-0700. It's your prediction for the score between Utah and Baylor. To wrap up the Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday, it is Spence Checketts that joins us here in studio. The Drive with Spence Checketts coming up next. Spence, how you doing?
I'm fine, but you guys are bullying me and lying to me.
I'm not lying.
I'm hesitant to even do crosstalk today because this is a den of thieves, dude. A bunch of liars in here. I'm not buying this shtick. What do you mean you don't know John Stockton's jersey number? You're lying to me.
I promise you on all things that I can ever tell you, I'm not lying to you.
You don't know Karl Malone's jersey number.
I don't.
It's one of the strangest things.
This
I've
is
ever-
not true.
This is because when I watch sports, I'm not paying attention to people's jersey numbers. If I'm calling the game, like doing play-by-play, I have to know their jersey number.
Are you buying
Have
this?
I ever done a play-by-play for basketball, for
I
jazz
haven't.
games?
doesn't
No.
matter.
I've never done a Packers game. I know Brett Favre's jersey number.
There's my whole point is TV nowadays, Spence, I can see the dude's face. Why do I need to know his jersey number?
Wait,
I know
guys,
who that is.
Right, you're the most of the shots are from the 50. You're looking at the number.
You do,
That's
and I don't-
you do
I don't
radio with
pay
this
it-
charlatan every day, this liar.
The only reason I buy this is I've never met anyone worse at math and numerically illiterate than me, and it's that he is that guy.
You don't need to be good at math to know Brett Favre's jersey number.
I think he has a mental block with any sort
Numbers.
of number.
Okay,
might
is
be true.
this every sport at every level? Is it a certain sport? Is it
No.
football? Obviously not, because you don't know John Stockton and Karl Malone's jersey number.
Do you know how much
I probably know more college football numbers than anything else.
John Mateer.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that dude's number.
No, I'm not. Well, like, are you just talking in states? Like, you know, Bears number.
Yeah, 47.
Yeah, everybody knows Bears
But
number.
that's a weird one. Like Chase Roberts, I know he's number 2. Devin Dampier's 4. So I know the guys that are here.
Do you know both of Kobe's jersey numbers?
I know randomly enough, Tobias Merriweather's is 18.
Okay.
Random.
Yeah, so is Peyton freaking Manning.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I said 13. Close, though. 'Cause
No, it
just
wasn't.
needed to close off that
close off
13.
You said you know Kobe. You know both of Kobe's.
Well, we talked about this in the last segment.
Oh, okay.
24 and 8.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you
Took
know
me a minute
any
to
Jazz
remember.
player's jersey number ever in history?
He loves Jordan Clarkson. What's Jordan Clarkson's number?
Yeah, I
That's
don't
an
know
easy
Jordan
one.
Clarkson's number.
I've never.
I
Wait.
honestly cannot think of
It's remarkable.
anybody's jersey number
Do
that's
you
played for the Jazz.
you do watch games?
Yes, I
He
do.
watches more games than
Watched them
anybody.
play the Hawks the other night. Couldn't tell you any of their jersey numbers.
Zero Jazz players right now.
0 off the top of my head. Current Jazz players, no chance.
James, are you buying any of this? I can't believe this is true.
Hey, Bryce is otherwise a morally upstanding young man.
Bryce
so
seems like the
yes,
sweetest guy in the world.
I
I'm not
absolutely
lying
believe
to you
it.
guys.
It's a
No,
weird thing
I
to decide
absolutely
to
believe
It's
lie
because
about.
Spence, I'm not watching the guys the back of their jersey. I'm watching what they're doing on the floor.
Yeah,
Why do I need to know their jersey
What
number?
is Reggie Miller's jersey number?
Here's the problem. Here's my whole thing. In the position that I am in right now, what do I need to know more than their jersey number? How they play and what they do.
And their names that
And
are
their
attached
names.
to their jersey, and the number is right underneath the name, by the way.
No one's
unless
argue-
I'm calling the game myself, I don't need to know the jersey number.
You don't.
So you know,
have
like
to.
UVU soccer numbers.
Yeah, actually I do.
The defensive holding mid from UVU wears what number? This is wild to
Well,
me.
it's a low number. I'll tell you
It'd be
that
one
much.
thing if I was like slot receiver from the Panthers. I'll give you that. But Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Drew Brees. It's an easy one.
They said it earlier, but I forgot what you guys said. Is it number 9?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Number 9. Worn by
Joe
a lot
Burrow.
of great
Joe
quarterbacks.
Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Where's that one too? Matthew Stafford. Because I
Stafford,
thought
number
Matthew
9.
Stafford was number 20. This is how
He
this
said
all started.
Matthew Stafford's 20.
They don't
They don't wear
They don't
20.
allow
You said
quarterbacks to wear
1 through
past
20.
19, I
1
don't
through
think.
19.
Okay. Well, you guys said 1 through 20. See, that's the other thing. That's
No,
why
this
this is how this all started.
This is turning
Is
on
because
us.
we were talking about which numbers are allowed in the NFL, and I had no idea because I don't pay attention to numbers.
This is blowing my mind. I think we need to move on because
I'm not a referee.
I feel like I'm being lied to by this young man who I think is an awfully nice
What's
kid.
Sean
Bryce. I don't wanna-
Hockley's number? I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Anyway, let us move on. What's coming up on the
Yeah,
drive with
let's
Spence Checketts?
less of this. Probably
Thankfully for those listening.
none of this. It's one of the biggest college football weekends of the year. It might be the biggest college football weekend of the year. I thought Jazz Hawks last night was, well, it's high-level offense. The Jazz continue to not guard. So we'll do a little NBA. Dave McMenamin's going to join us right off the top. We've got Rojo for some Utah football, the voice of Baylor, John Morris. And we'll do a deep dive on BYU TCU. There are a lot of people picking TCU in this game. The line moved earlier today down to 3.5, and I think some people jumped on it, so I think it's back up to 4.5. I think it is. But I didn't know this until I was doing the prep for today. Texas Tech has the best run grade defense in the country, according to Pro Football Focus. TCU is third.
Wow.
I didn't know that until earlier today. So BYU is going to have to find a way to run the football because really their season, like I think they're beating Cincinnati. You know, I talked about this. Cincinnati's matchup with Utah was so bad for them, and BYU plays so much like Utah. I don't know that they're going to blow their brakes off because it's a road game. But Saturday night feels monumental for BYU. So we'll do a lot of Utah Baylor, do a lot of BYU TCU, and we will not talk about Thursday Night Football because the Jets are unserious, unfortunately.
Yes, they are.
You do know Tom Brady's number.
Yeah. It's 12.
Yeah, okay.
And that's only because he's got his TB12 brand.
Okay, John Stockton also famously wore the number 12 for 20 years.
Thank you. I
in
also
Salt Lake.
was not alive when John Stockton was playing.
My 5-year-old nephew knows that John Stockton was 12.
You know, they hang it in the banners.
Yes, I know. I do know.
Do you
that.
pay attention?
I've seen it.
Do you pay attention to the rafters, the banners, when
Yeah.
you're at Jazz games?
I try to.
Okay.
But obviously not enough.
You
This
remember-
is wild to me.
that
I'm going to
is-
be thinking about this when I'm trying to go to sleep tonight, that Bryce doesn't know these numbers.
I apologize.
No, you're
to
good.
all the sports fans out there that are disappointed in a sports talk radio show host not knowing the numbers of players.
It's just baffling. I've never met a person like that that's a sports fan like that. It's so
Next time we do crosstalk, I want you to have studied the numbers of the great players in pro football and pro basketball history.
I'll bring them
okay?
back to you.
Baseball's one thing. It's kind of hard to, like Aaron Judge is 99. You could grill me on baseball. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But-
like, do you remember Jeter's number?
Of course, the legend, the greatest of all time, my
Paul-
favorite player,
Paul
too.
O'Neill? Like a
Paulie was 27?
it's
21?
21, I think.
20-something.
Oh, here we
But,
go.
of course, my guy Jeets, number 2, the GOAT of all time. Good to see you guys.
You as well. All right. Coming up next, The Drive with Spence Checketts. We appreciate you. And if you liked what you heard today, you could join us over on the other station, 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan, every single weekday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. And appreciate you. Coming up next, The Drive with Spence Checketts right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 792.1.